416th day of the Sex Offender Administration. Maryland U.S. District Judge Brenton Herson issued a 14-day restraining order on Wednesday to halt construction work on an immigration detention center in Hagerstown, Maryland, after the state had, quote, shown that defendants likely failed to comply with their obligations under the National Environmental Policy Act, close quote. Besides, why should detainees get better living conditions than the rest of the residents of Hagerstown, Maryland? The Pentagon has not permitted photographers to cover Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's last two briefings on the war in Iran and hasn't explained the change in long-standing policy. Hegseth is concerned that the photographs of him add 10 pounds and audio of him removes 10 IQ points. The first 6 days of the war in Iran cost U.S. taxpayers at least $11.3 billion in munitions alone, according to the Pentagon estimates reviewed by lawmakers, and experts say the ongoing cost could increase exponentially. The total does not include the cost of operating and maintaining the military force engaged in the war or battle damage sustained from Iran's attacks. The new Ayatollah Mojtaba Khomeini, under anonymity, stated, quote, "Do you know how many virgins the imperialist U.S. demons could have bought with that kind of money?" Close quote. Trump nominee Jeremy Carl, a political commentator who argued that white people are the victims of racism and need help protecting their identity, withdrew his candidacy Tuesday for a senior diplomatic role in the State Department as Republican opposition placed his nomination in jeopardy. It looks like Jeremy Carl gave up racism for Lent for nothing. This has been a Dr. Reverend Jelly Roll with headlines and punchlines for March 12th, 2026, the 416th day of the Sex Offender Administration. Join me live at the Church of Last Resort Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on MindDog TV.
The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host or guest and should not be interpreted as statement of fact.
Do I have to do this? I don't really want to do this.
Independent fact-checking and corrections are encouraged.
Can we get a cup of coffee in here, please?
All right. Coffee. Got some weird echo going on. What's going on with the weird echo? All weird echoes must end.
Damn good coffee and hot.
Hot coffee.
My dog is your mind's best friend.
Wop nerd. Look, right.
My dog is your mind's best friend.
Bum.
Wake up, America. You've got a dog that needs walking. That's right, sunshine. Just put on a big pot of strong coffee and get ready to type your little hate mail with your opinions about kumbaya and flat earth insanity. Stand-up comedy? You want stand-up comedy? Well, we've got sit-down comedy. It's time for Coffee with a Dog. You make me laugh.
Yeah, you know, congratulated or petangulated. What's network? What's that? Oh. Hello? No, I got nothing. Something's wrong with my thing number 6. No network tap. Better? No, I'm locked up. I think. Good morning. Can you hear me? Am I here? Do you hear me? Am I alive? Good morning, folks. I don't know. I'm feeling a little very slow over there. Anyway, it is Thursday, March 12th, 2026. Okay, GD, am I looking all right over there? You see me? No, you don't see me. I'm not looking all right. What's not right? I don't know what's going on. I got Wi-Fi troubles. All right, that's a good excuse for me to go back to bed. It's been a good show. Thanks for stopping in. Why is my hotspot all weirded out? Something's wrong. You want to come on and say hello to me and straighten me out here? Because are you typing something? I don't know what you're typing. Where you typing stuff? comments.
Yeah. Okay. Good morning, America. MindDogTV.com. Today is whatever it is, but it doesn't matter because Matt is choppy. He's gone all max headroom on us today. I think
You know what?
I think he overdosed on some hallucinogenics, and therefore he's gone max headroom.
Could happen. Have a show. I'm out. I'm quitting. I quit. No, I'm gonna. I'm gonna restart
anything.
Want me to just play a video, and while no, I can't just play a video while I restart this because the video will go off.
Well, but I can play a video.
But I was going to play a specific video of one of the guests that's coming on.
Right. The guy with the thing.
The Maniscope, Manicorn, something.
Yeah, Manicorn.
All right, why don't you play that?
Give me a second. Give me a second to find it. Well, actually, I don't need a second to find it. I just got to go to the link, right?
Right.
Yeah, because your audio is fine. It's
so weird. It's so weird. I'm just crying. I'm crying. Can you hear me crying?
Yeah, we hear you crying.
All right. What? Why is that? Why is everything so slow? That's what I want to know. It says because I'm on Wi-Fi.
Present, share screen. Yeah.
How about this? Is that any better? No, I'm all locked up now, right? It's even worse.
So,
right?
This is.
It's even worse.
Right. No, let me bring it up. Let me share it. Right. I got to add it to the stage. And this is a short film, Manicorn, by our second hour guest, Jim McDonald. Jim McDonald. While Matt actually
I'm gonna reboot.
Matt's gonna reboot, and we're gonna start this. Yay.
Flu and cold keeping you awake?
Yes.
You need Universal Global Medicorp's new Cold Away Day and Cold Away Night combo pack. The new environmentally friendly combo pack combines both pills in one bottle, reducing waste by 50%. Take 2 pills with the letter I for nighttime relief. Take 2 pills with the number 1 for daytime relief. Saying goodbye to your cold is that simple.
Is that right?
Warning, do not take both a Cold Away Day pill and Cold Away Night pill at the same time.
What?
Side effects include a visit from the spirit guide.
Right, the long face.
Do not look the spirit guide in the eyes. And refrain from looking in the mirror for 9 hours.
Interspecies merger is the only path to true enlightenment.
Oh my god, those feel better. Repeat the dosage.
Under no circumstance are you to take instruction from the spirit guide.
Repeat the dosage and I'll take you home. Good, Manicorn. It's time to go home. See? Oh.
Universal Global Medicorp. Universal Global Medicorp's parent company, Xingshang Organic Children's Snacks Substitutes, nor any of its affiliates can be held responsible for wormhole travel taken under the influence of Universal Global Medicorp's Cold Away.
I'm really fast.
Upon your space travel, you may use your horn for self-defense and not for evil.
But the plan looks stupid.
Manacons using horn power for evil can expect to be summoned to Dimension 32C, where the Dolphin God, Pygmy Zeef, and Ryan from Cranston, Rhode Island will decide your fate. Governing bodies will remove your Manicorn powers and transport you back to your humble Homo sapien form.
Being a Manicorn is a life.
May God have mercy on your soul.
Oh boy. Ow. Cold's gone.
Daddy. Daddy. Yeah!
You don't need those credits and stuff. And get on my side, all right? Get on my all right. Am I better?
We don't need no stinking credits.
I don't feel so good, man. I had a doctor on last night. He told me I'm dying. I'm dying, Jiggy. I'm dying. All right. Now maybe I'm not dying yet, but what he said is that's what happens. I told him 5 days ago I started experiencing shortness of breath. That's what happens when you're gonna die. When you're about to have a heart attack, when you're about to have a fatal heart attack, everything you're going through, you don't tell that to a fucking hypochondriac, do you? Unless you,
I wouldn't know, but
yeah,
I wouldn't give medical advice over the internet either.
Well, he wants me to go out to Denver to go to his clinic to get checked out. But that would cause me so much stress. I'd have a heart attack just doing that.
Well, what's the copay to fly to Denver?
He's just gonna do it for me because he loves me.
Oh, okay.
You believe that?
No. That somebody loves you.
Any of it all.
He just met you. Could explain why he'd love you, but once he got to know you,
all right. On my health issues aside,
or imagined or real. Go ahead.
Right. Well, that's what the whole hypochondria thing. But I tried to go to bed. I didn't sleep, and this is the part of it where the not sleeping is not good for the stress and the heart attack and whatever is coming. On a positive note, I don't know if you noticed. I don't know if you noticed. Yesterday, the head of the FBI, Kash Patel, took the 5th.
He's drinking again.
Not
put on film drinking at the Olympics.
Not incriminating himself. Ted Lieu cornered him, and basically it was 23 seconds of silence before the head of the FBI. Think about this. Could not comment without incriminating himself. Basically, he was caught on tape saying 11 days into his tenure, like it was January 31st of 2025, caught on tape saying Trump told me to bury it. It being the Epstein investigation. Trump told me to bury it. You care to comment on that? Silence for 23 seconds. His cross eyes turned straight for a second. He turned white. His hands were on the desk, like kind of, that hold on, the ship's going to start rocking type of body language, doing that. And then on the advice of counsel, I take the Fifth Amendment not to incriminate myself. meaning if I tell the truth, I'm going to
I will get in
incriminate
trouble.
myself.
Yeah.
Not just on one count of perjury, but on everything he said over the last year and 2 months in front of Congress. Lots and lots of counts of perjury. So there's that. Now, he's got two choices. He can resign and just face the deal and hope Trump will pardon him, or he can flip.
Yeah, but if he resigns and Trump's pardoned him, he no longer has a Fifth Amendment right for self-incrimination because he's immune. So then he has to spill the beans.
All right, it gets even more interesting. Are you ready for more interesting? So that's Kash Patel, and we don't know where that's going to go, but that feels hopeful. Like it felt to me like a what was his name? Well, I can't even think of his name. I'm just so flustered here. The guy who ran against Johnson, Barry Goldwater. Barry Goldwater marching up to Nixon and saying, "It's time for you to resign." It felt like that kind of moment. There was that much weight to it. Ted Lieu it was just great to just. I listened to the audio because there's no video. It was on C-SPAN, but somehow the video just doesn't exist anymore. So you got either Rachel Maddow narrating what happened, and but so it's just like a very hopeful moment. Yes, justice is not dead; it's on life support, but it's got a sliver of hope there. Then our friend Jasmine, you remember our friend Jasmine?
Crockett?
Yes, that's our friend Jasmine.
Okay.
She gets
a new one.
Yeah, she gets to question Pam Bondi.
And she's still angry about losing her primary. So
yeah, and Bondi was going to get into like this, you know how she gets. She gets to be a Willie. Crockett came in with a folder with 3 lies, statements, money laundering, stuff that Bondi had talked about but denied. It was all conspiracy theories and bullshit and all that stuff. And then Jasmine brought out the receipts. Here you go. And she said, first one is February 24th. Now, she had been Attorney General for less than a month there. And it says basically approving DOJ funds to settle claim about the Jeffrey Epstein matter to an offshore bank in the Cayman Islands, no business attached to it. The second letter was her assistant Todd Blanche affirming the funds had been sent, and a DOJ memorandum from Pam Bondi saying this matter is closed. No FOIA. No, don't show anybody this stuff. This is all requests got to come through me. Closing down. They're all transparency on this. Bondi claiming she doesn't know anything about it, and then Jasmine pulls up the document. Is this your signature? 83 seconds of silence. Twitching. The ear starts twitching. Pam Bondi, you're not looking so confident anymore. 83 seconds. I got to take the 5th. So you have the Attorney General, the top law enforcement person in the country, and the head of the FBI taking the 5th because they can't tell the truth without incriminating themselves. This is where we're at yesterday. It's a day for history books. I mean, you could talk about John Mitchell and what went down with Watergate. This is serious shit now. You talk about constitutional crisis. The Attorney General and the head of the FBI both have to take the 5th not to incriminate themselves. And that's on record, congressional record now. So I went to bed happy and hopeful. But we'll see what happens with it. But where's the press? Have you seen any of this in the press?
I did not. I did not see it when I was researching the headlines to write this morning's news headlines for the Reverend. I did not see him in the headlines anywhere.
Yeah. I was watching the video, and that might have screwed up my machine. For some reason, everybody is taking Rachel Maddow's audio and syncing it over video because there's no actual video left. Rachel Maddow is narrating a descriptive of what happened, but it was on C-SPAN. All of it was shot on. What happened to the videos of it?
It's like I want to bring the guests in real soon, but it's like there was a moment in the speech that George Bush II, gave during, it was a live, he was addressing the nation live on television. And he says that people are telling me that the Iraqis, because this is just before the Iraq war, just they'd invaded the Iraq war. We were there, I think. Is that the Iraqis cannot govern themselves because they don't look like us. And he did this. They don't look like us.
Yeah.
And then he says, I reject that. Okay. Now, and then he said it again, the same sentence, the same gesture, live on television again, maybe a day or two later. So, and that footage has disappeared. And the thing that got me was that he says, people tell me. The only people talking to him at the time were Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, and Condoleezza Rice. Those are the people talking to him. Okay. It's not like I could walk up to him and go, George,
yeah,
those Iraqis can't govern themselves because they don't look like us. And what's us? Because if I do this, well, actually he said us Americans. That's what he said, us Americans. So looking like us Americans, how do you look like an American? But when he touched himself, he meant white.
Yeah.
So that lets out Condoleezza Rice. So it's Donald Rumsfeld and but then let's bring our guests in on a good note.
You remember our friend Dante. She's
yes.
She's the novelist with the Base series.
Yes.
She contacted me last week about the pardon industry that Trump has got going, and a particular case that was in the New York Times. I was reading.
She wrote a book about it, right?
No, not yet.
It's now book 9 in the series on the Base.
Could be, but not yet. Okay. But I was just reading the article, and then my New York Times free trial just ended just as I was reading this thing, and now it's covering up. It's Joseph Schwartz guy buying a pardon from Trump. So let's welcome. Good morning, Dante.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
It's good to see you, and I want to thank you for having me on about this because I can't write characters this strange, and I can't write a story this strange.
Yeah.
But you can take a class. If you join the GOP, you can take a class to learn to be a character this strange.
Now that's a pretty because you wrote the Base, and that's pretty strange. So you're saying you could not imagine you don't have the capability to come up with Donald Trump administration
and the whole and then Joseph Schwartz, and then I even made some little things here. Skyline Healthcare. If you lovely folks there watching in the audience, just type those 2 words into any search engine, and what you're going to see is going to absolutely blow your mind. Like, why was this guy pardoned? And I am very glad that the press is kind of waking up to this, because this fraud impacted, I'll give you a little shorthand on it. This fraud was over 100 nursing homes in 9 states, 15,000 employees, almost 7,000 residents, millions and millions of dollars. And so it's bigger than that, Somali daycare fraud, way bigger because of the number of states it impacted and the number of employees impacted. And these guys pretty much took everything but the kitchen sink. They took all the incoming money. They didn't pay any of the outgoing bills. So when I worked for a Skyline Healthcare run home, as I was writing my books on the side, when I worked for one of their homes, one of the things that they did is, and there should not be a word in the dictionary for this, but they did ERISA fraud. Now, I know you want to know what an ERISA fraud is. And because it's super important that we never, ever have this again. And there shouldn't even be a word in the dictionary for it because it's that bad. What happened was Joseph Schwartz and Skyline Healthcare, and he pleaded guilty to this already, so we know it's true, is the money that you take, that is taken out of your paycheck, that you tell your employer, please give this to the health insurance company so I have health insurance. So an ERISA fraud is when your employer takes the money out of your check for health insurance or AFLAC or for your retirement and just takes it. And that is so bad because those of us who go to the doctor, we think that those bills are being paid. Right. And we had a big bad surprise when Skyline Healthcare was found not to have paid our health insurance. So what happens to you, the employee in that situation, is you get the bills. Thousands of dollars of bills when they find this out. Oops.
Yeah.
And so what I would love to know really is I think it's time for Congress and everyone else to make sure that we never, ever have ERISA fraud. Again, there shouldn't even be a word in the dictionary for this. It's that bad, okay? Like my coworker who had a baby, and then she gets a bill, $9,000, because she never really had the insurance.
Wow.
And yeah, and
sounds like a scam. I want to start. I'm just going to start telling people I'm an insurance company, Matnap Insurance, and just send me your money, and then when you file a claim, I got no money.
Well, it's big money, Matt. It's super big money. In fact, this all happened in 2018. Okay, the 8-year anniversary of the emergency takeover by all the states of the Skyline Healthcare run homes by Joseph Schwartz. That'll be May 2nd. Okay. And very big money. There was like, the fraud is alleged to be at least like 38 million just in the Medicare and payroll taxes part. Big money. And so my question is, wouldn't you think that right after all these homes collapsed and the states had to do emergency takeovers, that Congress would be having some type of hearings or something to make sure it never happened again, and that they would be, doing everything that they could in their power to permanently ban ERISA fraud? Because
well, let me stop you there. You say you want Congress to do something. Congress, as led by what's his name, Mike Johnson, that Congress, or the minority side, as led by Chuck Schumer and backboneless Hakeem Jeffries. Who do you expect? Who do you expect to do something about this in the era of Donald Trump, other than write like strongly worded letters or anything? You could talk about all the corruption, and they've got nothing. There is nobody on the Republican side. They just want to let Trump get away with everything and anything that he's selling pardons is old hat. That's the least of his offenses, according to them. And the Democrats, all they care about is just writing strongly worded letters and mean tweets and stuff. Nobody's doing anything. So I appreciate your passion for it, but I would not expect Congress to do anything about it at this point.
And I'm a little hopeful in the sense that if people, because apparently ERISA fraud is a crime, but apparently the punishment is not severe enough to stop people from doing it.
Yeah,
so
3 years. 3 years is what he got, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so I think there's some crimes that should be unpardonable, even by the president.
Well, I totally agree with you there, G. Dean. I'm going to tell you a story about my experience with, let me see now, ERISA fraud. Am I holding it right? Okay.
Yeah, we see it.
So, all right. So what happens with ERISA fraud when you have to report it? Like when you find out because you go to your mailbox, after all the nursing homes you worked for had to be taken over, emergency takeovers by the state. And you find out, a week or so later, you go to your mailbox and it's jammed with bills from the doctor and the dentist. And then you find out you didn't have your AFLAC and you don't have that stuff in your retirement account that you thought you'd had. So what they do is they tell you to write the Department of Labor. Now, this is almost 8 years ago, okay? So we write the Department of Labor, and still no progress has happened on the case.
I'm just had a question real quick. Is this is under the Trump administration? So the Department of Labor, that's being led by Mitch McConnell's wife?
It's going back 8 years, so yeah, it was the Trump
Well,
administration.
8 years ago, it was also a Trump administration.
Yeah.
I
Right.
don't recall who was running the
I think it was
DOL
Cho.
then.
I think her name was Cho. I think.
Right.
But go ahead. You go ahead. I'll research it.
Sure. And so the thing is you write the Department of Labor and you tell them that you were a victim of ERISA fraud. Like, you didn't know that, but when you call them up and you say, hey, I just found out I didn't have insurance. My employer took all that money out of my check. They say, oh yeah, that's an ERISA fraud. There shouldn't even be a word for that. That is so bad, right? So you find out that you were a victim of ERISA fraud. You call the Department of Labor. It's almost 8 years later. I follow up with them. I check in once a year. And what they have told me when I checked in the last time is that the only thing that you can possibly get back from them if you win is the money that they took out of your check. So if they were taking $50 a week out of your check, that is all you can possibly get back from them. But if your bills are like $14,000, you're still on the hook for those bills. You'll get, the $300 back that they took out of your check, but you're not going to get the 14 grand. They're not going to pay that. And so this is why so many of my coworkers and others, the 15,000 employees that were affected by the Skyline Healthcare fraud by Joseph Schwartz, are in big trouble with big money because they thought they had insurance. And so I just saw a recent news broadcast, and what they're telling people to do now is not to believe your employer. Even though they're taking that out of your check, before you have a procedure done, you may possibly become a victim of ERISA fraud. Have all of your things pre-approved, because we can't even trust our employers now in this era. Wow. So I want to make sure that, your audience knows that ERISA fraud is happening. And for some reason, and I totally agree with you, GD, the punishment for this should be so drop dead evil that it never happens again. But that's not the way things are now, folks. So we all got to look out for each other. And here I am, your mama here, Dante, your mama Dante, and well, I'm going to tell you, watch out.
Well, you're both right about the punishment should be much more severe, but it doesn't matter what the punishment is if you can buy your way out of it for $100,000. This wasn't even a lot of money if you consider all the money this guy was stealing, that $100,000 was nothing to get himself out of it. So it wouldn't have mattered if he would have got a 50-year sentence instead of a 3-year sentence if he could buy his way out of it for $100,000.
Now, I did a comedy sketch about this, a comedy bit, or it was a routine, a little while ago about the death penalty, the difference between myself and my wife. And we both believe in a death penalty, but for two different reasons. She believes if you hurt a puppy or a kitten or take advantage of an old person or rape, then you should get the death penalty. And I want the death penalty for white collar criminals. Because they are not deterred. They get the penalties that they get is just like it's baked in. They say we're going to steal $4 billion. We'll wind up paying $100 million, and we still make like $3.9 billion profit. So that's fine. So I say put death penalty on the table. And the next thing is, like, again, you can't be pardoned. This is an unpardonable crime.
Well,
so
that's
if you don't,
there needs to be pardon reform about the presidential pardon power. He can't be just pardoning family members himself and selling pardons left and right and all this stuff. We need to kind of rethink the whole presidential pardon power. But the other part of it is, can the states go back and retry him again? Now that he's been pardoned on the federal level, retry him and still lock him up again.
Well, and I'm going to encourage folks again to look up the Skyline Healthcare fraud. And, because recently, the Trump Trump said that we're going to be the biggest anti-fraud country in the
But he
world,
also
right?
said, well, he's not for endless wars. He's also,
Right.
yeah, whatever. He's going to drain the swamp. He fills the swamp.
But
Everything he says is the opposite.
all right. Well, Skyline Healthcare, I'm going to give you a couple interesting facts. When you go to work at a nursing home, which I did, I was a cook in a nursing home while I was writing my little books and doing all my little creative stuff. That's what I did to pay the bills. That was my way of supporting myself. So I worked for a nursing home operated by Skyline Healthcare. So what happens when you go and you fill out an application is they don't say, yeah, you've got the job. They say, we have to run a background check on you. And then you also have to, take a drug test. You got to pee in that cup. And I did all of those things for them. And I have no problem with that, because when you work in a nursing home, you are dealing with people that are defenseless.
Yes.
They are terminally ill, they're elderly. There's, just people who can't protect themselves. And so my question is that if you look up Joseph Schwartz, the operator of Skyline Healthcare, you'll find frauds going back to 2007. And why don't they check nursing home operators out as thoroughly as they check the employees out? Like, this could have been avoided, and it was, big money, very big money. The states, now there's three classes of victims here. First and foremost, the residents. Then there was the employees, and then the states and the taxpayers, because guess what? When the states had to do emergency takeovers of the home and then become temporary operators of the home, if they said to, like, U.S. Foods, who sued Joseph Schwartz because he wasn't paying any of the food bills either,
Right.
and it got to the point where the truck would pull up and he would say, no cash, no food. I mean, this was really bad, folks. We were 48 hours away from having all our utilities shut off. When you think of how many people are in a nursing home tied up to machines, that could have been a mass murder.
And I'm sorry, when that happens, they also they have to send in police and EMTs to move the patients, and they have to have places to move them to.
Right.
So, and if you have a patient under, let's say, I'm just saying, you have someone in that care who's, let's say, has experiencing renal failure, so they're on a machine. They can't just be moved any place. They have to be moved to some place where they can continue that same treatment. So
absolutely,
it's very costly. It's extremely costly.
And it wasn't a situation like, okay, Hurricane Katrina came in, we got to move these patients out, like a natural disaster. This was, premeditated, fraud from the get-go. And, you can talk, there are many of the suppliers of Skyline Healthcare who sued because they were not being paid. And then the last straw, when the state had to take over, in my case, South Dakota, because that's where I lived at the time, when the state had to jump in and take over, then the state, us taxpayers, then we were on the hook for those bills that this millionaire, should have paid. And do you know that the entire operation of Skyline Healthcare was registered to a mailbox above a pizzeria in New Jersey? I can't make this up. That's why I say I write all kinds of books. I mean, I wrote The Base, and then if you want a little spice, I wrote Sex, Death, and Diane too, But I mean, I can't make characters up this evil.
Well, it's a little confusing to me because I'm looking up this stuff, and it seems like they operated in a lot of states: South Dakota, Pennsylvania, Arkansas, and he was charged in South Dakota. He was charged in Arkansas. I don't understand why it became a federal thing. Why didn't the states just hold on to him?
Well, the states have independently each filed suits. And one of the problems, I think, with it getting like national recognition is that, there's some very good reporting that happened on the individual states, but it took a little while for people to realize that this was a national fraud. It affected more than 9 states. It's much bigger than the Somali daycare fraud. And because it affected so many states and it affected so many employees. And we're deporting those folks who did the Somali daycare fraud, and we're trying to get that money now. But I mean, you know, the situation with Skyline Healthcare, we're deporting him from a jail. Okay, he got pardoned. And I don't understand why you pardon a guy who took my coworkers' money, and now some of them had to file for medical bankruptcy and stuff like that. These were, you know, honest, law-abiding, hardworking Americans, okay? We all went to work every day. We did difficult jobs, and they did the right thing. They planned for their health. They paid their health insurance out of their checks. And unfortunately, that was ERISA fraud.
Yeah.
Joseph Schwartz and Skyline Healthcare took that money, never gave it to the insurance company. So now my fellow coworkers, decent, hardworking Americans, they lost big money. They are on the hook for those bills. Those bills are not going away. In the hospital, everyone else wants their money, but they never should be in that situation. They should not have $15,000 bills hanging over their head. You know, another coworker, her husband had surgery, and so, you know, she's obligated to pay that, and she has her credit rating dinged. This is not fair. Mr. Schwartz is out of jail, and he's alleged to have taken over $38 million. You know, he should at least do restitution, you know, something like that.
He's not alleged to, he admitted to. He
Right.
pleaded
Yep,
guilty.
yep.
And that,
Absolutely.
so I'm thinking, and they're saying it was originally $38 million, and then he admitted to 39. I'm thinking it's got to be more than that. If he's admitted to 39, it's probably more like 139 or something. But the problem here is, and I shouldn't say I know the problem is, but I'm feeling like corporate takeover, because he was hiding behind an LLC, which is why a background check on him would not affect it, because he was doing business as an LLC, a corporation, in multiple states. And we were talking about this like last night with the doctor I had on, about the corporate takeover of healthcare facilities, in particular nursing homes and assisted living centers. I have, because I do a lot of work in these facilities, and I have seen the level of care and the level of professionalism go down as these gigantic corporations make cities out of healthcare centers that were used to be owned by individuals. I think it would be much easier to keep this under keep track of these people and do a background check of the owner if it were an individual, not hiding behind an LLC in a PO box on the top of a pizza place.
Well, it gets a little worse, because the folks from Skyline Healthcare, which was a 4-person company, on paper at least, it was Joseph Schwartz, his wife, and his 2 adult sons, Michael and Louis. Okay, so the operators of Skyline Healthcare, they finally did eventually, you know, the IRS was the one, actually, I think, who arrested Joseph Schwartz. And then he finally did admit and then go to jail. But you remember that nursing home in New Jersey, Andover subacute, with the bodies that were in a shed?
Yeah.
Do you know that Joseph Schwartz's partner on paper, his son, was one of the operators of that nursing home? This happened a couple of years after the Skyline Healthcare. Wow. Why are people not removed completely from that industry when they do, you know, the Skyline Healthcare thing? Those people in Andover subacute really suffered. And then, like GD said, you have the emergency relocations, which are mondo expensive, and the taxpayers are frequently the ones who end up paying those bills, and those residents suffer trauma being relocated and everything. But I mean, you know, you mean to tell me that these folks are still in the industry?
Right.
That they don't do any vetting?
One of the problems that we have is that taxpayers don't realize they're paying the bill. It's not like they're saying, it's not like the state of Maryland sends me a letter and says, Mr. Fenderson, your property taxes are going to go up this year by $1,300 because Skyline did this, and we figured out how much everybody in the state of Maryland is going to owe. And it turns out your share of Skyline's grift is $1.3 thousand.
Mm-hmm.
We don't get to see that. We just get a letter like our property taxes went up. We're like, what? Why? And we don't get this the why. We don't know the why. Right. And as far as the states prosecuting, sometimes the states do not prosecute because they make an agreement with the Fed saying, okay, you're investigating. We're not going to step on your toes. We'll take a back seat. And as long as that person's in jail, they don't do anything. Now, but Matt is, and this is where Matt's point is like, I can't believe I'm agreeing with Matt. Stop it. No, that now that he's out, the state should go after him with like a meat cleaver. And that's just for the testicles. I'm not even talking about the, I'm sorry, did that slip out? I'm sorry. I see there's people who like believe in biblical justice, an eye for an eye. I believe they'll take off the testicles if they got them.
But this is the part that's confusing me. That is, he already pleaded guilty in states.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and I just and then a scary thing about this whole thing is that, you know, if you pardon someone for what, you know, for that type of a thing, does that create a precedent? I mean, are you then saying that this is okay, go ahead, you know, knock yourself out, like, you know, do all of the ERISA frauds you want, you know, do all of the, you know, Skyline Healthcares you want, just, you know, keep it rolling, boys, you know, just take all the money you want because it's okay, because we've already pardoned this guy, even when he admitted guilty, even when there was a paper trail 1.5 miles wide, you know, it's okay, guys, you know, because the peons don't have big money. You know,
I don't think there's any question that the answer to your question is yes, because in that New York Times article that I can't read anymore, this guy wasn't keeping the buying the pardon secret. Laura Loomer was out in the open saying this is the price on the pardon, and he was sharing this information with other inmates to get online to buy pardons. It wasn't like this was done in back rooms or even hidden at all. It's like, yeah, here's the pardon line. Anybody got the money, you can get a pardon for any of this stuff. And I don't think it stops at healthcare. I don't think any white collar crimes. You know that right before he was bombing Venezuelan drug boats, he pardoned a drug kingpin who was just convicted, and basically that was a pay for a pardon too. So, I mean, every pardon is on the table. If you got enough money now, you can buy your freedom, which is this is the world we live in now. It's frustrating. It's scary as hell. I don't know how
and people wonder why people like Luigi do what they do.
Right.
You know,
well,
I'm not justifying it for the sake of YouTube. I'm not saying that it's okay. I'm saying that I understand there's a difference.
You were talking about Nintendo anyway, right?
The way he treats Bowser is just ridiculous. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, so for an update right now, you know, Mr. Schwartz, full unconditional pardon. And then if we go and we look at some of my, you know, former healthcare co-workers, I mean, they have, you know, medical companies that are not going to say, oh, okay, well, if Trump pardoned Schwartz, then, you know, you don't have to pay those bills anymore. You know, that's not the way it works. These people have their credit ratings trashed, and they are likely going to stay trashed because they can't come up with thousands of dollars, because the wages in that industry, my coworkers kind of topped out at $14 an hour. Okay. They're not millionaires.
Right.
And $14 an hour is, it's not after you get done paying your housing, your utilities, your, you know, internet access for your phone, because you have to have that, especially if you want to remain employed, and your transportation and your groceries, you're done.
Yeah, that's not enough money to live on for a medical professional. You would think, like in Seattle, and there are I think California too.
Right.
That's below minimum wage for healthcare professionals.
Well, and then, you know, just some more of the background there. Like I was lucky. Yes, I did have unpaid medical bills, but I got lucky, and I didn't consider myself lucky at the time. I went to a doctor, and the doctor took my health insurance card and he threw it at me.
Wow.
And before I even got to go into the office, and he said, "I'm sick of you people. You don't have insurance. You have little plastic cards." He goes, "Pay in cash full, and then you can come into the office for your appointment, but you don't have health insurance."
Wow.
And so I was taken aback by that.
Almost like it was your fault. You knew it.
Yeah. And then, so, the gentleman friend I had who drove me to the appointment, drove me to a nearby ATM. I took out the money to go to the appointment, and then I went to the doctor appointment. And he was still spitting flames. I mean, he was furious. He's like, "You have no idea how much money I'm out here. Like, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to get rid of one of the people who works at the front desk because I'm that deep?" And you got to understand South Dakota. I think there's like 2 million people in the whole state.
Yeah.
I mean, so the Schwartz fraud, the Skyline Healthcare fraud really hurt people, not just the employees, not just the residents, not just the taxpayers, but also the healthcare providers, because, they were out that money, and it wasn't really likely that they were going to get that money back. I was lucky that I realized something was wrong early. So then I kept contacting without success, the health care insurance company.
Right.
I kept saying, "Hey, what's up?" and stuff like that. I kept calling and didn't get any results. And I was lucky that, my coworkers were nurses. So if I had something wrong, I could, kind of buddy up to one of the nurses and say, "Hey, I don't think I have any health insurance now, but, I have this bug bite and I think I'm having an allergic reaction or something." But my coworker who was 9 months pregnant, you can't just buddy up to a nurse. You have to have that baby in a hospital. You have to have that taken care of. And, and so she has $9,000 of medical debt now because of that. And so, and this is all brought to you by Skyline Healthcare, and Mr. Schwartz was just recently pardoned.
Right.
But her medical debt's not going to go away. I mean, and he never did any sort of financial restitution of any kind. And I can speak, from experience to us victims. And also the Labor Department, we filed our complaints. This will be 8 years ago, very soon. And no restitution there. So we are enabling this to happen again. It is going to happen again. It's just going to be an environment of work at your own risk. And that industry is short-staffed enough.
Now, I have a question real quick, because I had an issue with, I'm not going to mention Bank of America by name because that would be wrong, although they were totally in the wrong. I wrote my congressperson, and they started me on the process. First of all, they told me that, well, what they did was immoral, what they did was wrong, but what they did was legal. So I had no recourse, but at least when I wrote to my congressperson, they got back to me and said, "This is what you can try to do," but what they did was legal. Obviously, what Skyline did was not legal. So by chance, did you write your congressperson? And if you did, you don't have to name your congressperson at the time, but what did they say, if they said anything?
I have reported the Skyline Healthcare fraud and Joseph Schwartz to every entity up to and including God.
I'll talk to the Reverend about that, because I'll talk to the Reverend about that on Sunday.
No, I'm truly serious with you. I mean, I really pushed it. I mean, I contacted the media very often. And what the media told me is that the reason the public isn't interested in this, I mean, at least one member of the media told me this, but I mean, there were people, and I'm very, very thankful for the journalists who have continued, done some reporting on it and stuff. But the reason they said it didn't really blow up into a big story, which it should have in 2018, there should have been congressional hearings. There should have been, something like that to like, okay, this was big. This hurt a lot of people, and we have to stop it from happening again. But it just, it's disappointing. And to address your question, GD, I didn't get anything meaningful back from the elected officials I spoke to. I mean, it's like, you get, yes, we've taken your complaint. Yes, we've heard about it. And then, to its credit, South Dakota did file something. I think the most responsive state was Massachusetts. Maura Healey filed 6 days after their homes were closed. It took South Dakota, I mean, it's a smaller state, limited resources, took them a couple of years to file something. But at this point, no one has gotten anything. The states, the employees, nobody.
Boy, oh boy, this is just a really convoluted story here, because I still can't wrap my head around how the feds got involved. I mean, I know how they got involved, but how they override, because he did plead guilty in New York, Arkansas, South Dakota, Massachusetts, lots of different states. So why did the federal pardon even matter? I mean, he shouldn't be in federal prison anymore. He bought his way out of that. But why don't one of the states say, well, we still got Massachusetts?
Well, Arkansas did try. Arkansas said, okay, when he gets out, when you release him from federal prison, we would like him to serve the remainder of his sentence here in Arkansas.
Yeah, that would make sense.
And their governor shot that down.
Huckabee.
Now, Arkansas is a Republican state.
Sarah Huckabee.
Yeah.
Former press secretary.
Yeah. And another thing that really kills me about this, as a person of faith, and I'm not going to preach or anything like that, is that, this whole situation goes against every doctrine of faith, because the people in nursing homes, the people that we serve and the people that we take care of are truly helpless, for the most part. They're self-defenseless, okay? And so, this whole scam, these were predators who preyed on the weakest of us all. And I don't understand where the voices of the faith leaders and stuff like that are either. And why these elected officials who basically run as if their running mate is God or something, like they're that, faith-based, and they want to make sure that, that there isn't any naughty books in the library and all these other things like that. Like, where are their voices when
books in the library?
Yeah. I mean, like for instance, like maybe one of my books is naughty. I don't know. Go read it. But I mean, the thing is like these faith leaders and stuff who contribute massive amounts to these elected officials' campaigns. And are very vocal about their endorsements with these officials. They should vet them further. I mean, they should, really, and also call them out when they are not doing the right thing. Right. I mean, because they have nothing to fear. They're tax exempt at this point. There is, at this point, still, I believe, separation of church and state. So if you're a faith leader and you have previously endorsed this politician in the past, you can speak up. You don't have a gag order. You're not going to lose your job. I mean, you can speak up and say, wait a minute, like what's happening now and what happened with this pardon. And we can't let another Skyline Healthcare happen again, because, you're hurting the people, the least of us who can't defend themselves. Yeah. I mean, you can use your voice here. I mean, you got vocal cords, you can still speak, and they carry such a big weight. They have thousands of followers. Speak up.
But, well, let me just say, I feel helpless about this situation. Like, I don't feel like there's a whole lot that we can even do as a grassroots movement, because these corporations are so big. And when you say there'll be another Skyline Healthcare, there already are. There are plenty of. Again, this is kind of something I've been on since I've been doing these nursing home type
gigs.
And And I talked to doctors about this, and the doctor I talked about last night, Jeffrey L. Boone, who's a heart surgeon, we were talking about empathy and how medical healthcare professionals, right from doctors to nurses aides, straight down the line, get burnt out. And he said the line that nobody is happy with their healthcare anymore since corporations started taking over healthcare completely. And I said it's beyond that. Not just the consumers aren't happy with their healthcare; the healthcare providers are burnt out, so that they don't even care about the job anymore. The reason they got into being care providers anyway was because they had an abundance of empathy, and that's been knocked out of them. And I think it paints a really ugly picture for the future of American healthcare all across the board. Forget about even without the fraud, and the fraud makes it much worse. But
I mean, we do have, and it's been quoted several times. We do have the most expensive healthcare in the world,
right?
And we need to treat the providers better. It's obvious, and then that will trickle down to the consumers. I mean, if you are telling these providers that you only have 11 minutes with each patient, and all this other stuff that you put them through and stuff, of course they're going to burn out, especially when they're seeing this, this endless procession of people that are, sick and not feeling well. And, of course, your mental health is going to be impacted by that, but you don't have to make it worse on them.
In the chat room right now, Heavy Kev is saying, break the system with love. But what's the first step to breaking the system? Of course, that sounds like an easy solution. Yeah, break the system. What's the first step in breaking the system?
I just have a bit of an idea here that this whole, this particular fraud, and that being the Skyline Healthcare fraud and the pardon of Joseph Schwartz and the continued situation with ERISA fraud. What I can tell people and is that ERISA fraud can happen to any of us tomorrow because the system is just not addressing it. So if everyone did at least write their representatives or talk to their representatives or repost this wonderful broadcast, right? We can help pimp you and pimp the issue by, spreading this broadcast to everyone and telling them, this ERISA fraud thing, it can happen to you. I mean, you could have money in the bank tomorrow and, money in the bank today that you've worked hard for. You can think that you planned your financial security and everything like that well, and then wake up and find out that you have been a victim of this, and now you owe thousands of dollars and your whole future is gone in like a minute. But I mean, if everyone were to speak out about ERISA fraud, write the representatives, especially since Trump said that we are going to get rid of all the fraud and JD Vance is going to be in charge of that. Okay, then game on, let's write all these people. Let's pass this broadcast today, share it to everyone that we can and say, end ERISA fraud, end it. There shouldn't, that word ERISA fraud, I mean, that should not exist. The first time it happened, it should have been exterminated. It never should have happened enough to the point that we have an ERISA fraud word, but then a department in the Department of Labor that deals with ERISA fraud. I mean, that means that, this is just simply going to happen more and more unless we get the word out. And by that means we all have to do our part here. All of us who are watching Mike Napo and GD. Sorry, GD, I didn't want to insult you. But I mean, all of us that are watching this now, we have to look out for ourselves because obviously the people on top of the food chain are not looking out for us. They'll hold up Bibles. They'll do all kinds of things, stand in front of a whole room of flags and stuff, but they're not watching out for you. Okay. So we have to watch out for each other. We have to contact everyone we know about this, and we have to share this broadcast with everyone we know to get rid of ERISA fraud. We're not going to reverse the pardon, I don't think. I don't think any of the victims of Skyline Healthcare are going to be ever compensated or have restitution or anything like that. The damage, I believe, on that issue is done, but we have to, we all got to speak out and end ERISA fraud, completely end it.
All right, let me just
I just-
point out that one more thing here. This guy, the guy who wrote the article that got you all fired up about this for the New York Times, Kenneth G. Vogel, he doesn't even at all. All he's concerned about is the pay for pardon stuff in his story. Somebody should write to him and let him know this is much deeper than just pardons for sale.
Well, I think speaking as a writer myself, and I do a daily piece on Facebook every day, and I don't have to answer to an editor when I do that, and it gets put out on breaking news sites every day. I always sign off with the title of the Sidewalk Report, but I mean, it's under my Facebook page profile, Dante Therese. But I do know other journalists. I see them when I go to events and stuff like that. And journalists have to answer to editors. Editors have to answer to the newsrooms and the heads of the corporations. Like our local paper here is one of like 10 papers that are owned by a conglomerate. So that's why we really, really love the Coffee with the Dog show, because you guys are not owned by anyone. You guys are just going out there and saying and getting words out about things that sometimes aren't making it. But I mean, in total defense of the journalist, I would say that sometimes your editor tells you, narrow this down, make it a focus story.
Right.
And so, what I would invite the New York Times to do, and perhaps Kenneth Vogel to do, great journalist, Stephanie Strasberg, great photographer, I would invite them to do a sequel.
Right.
To really show the depth of, the Skyline healthcare fraud, show the depth of that, how deep it got. And then I'm not saying that they neglected in any way. It just is so overwhelming that they had to, make a, strong case for one thing. Definitely, guys, anytime you want to talk to me, any journalist, talk about ERISA fraud, I'm here for you.
All right.
I just
want to mention two things real quick. First of all, I just wanted to let people know what ERISA actually stands for. It actually stands for Employee Retirement Income Security Act. That was established in 1974. The reason why I say that is because whenever Congress writes a law, something like this, whenever there's money involved, they know as Congress people and as human beings that when there's money, there's the chance of fraud. And when they set up these laws, they need to write what the penalty is right then and there. And when something like this statute, something this huge, they know the amount of fraud available is like, well, they know now. In 74, they probably couldn't imagine somebody doing stuff like this. But you got people like Rick Scott in Florida who made his millions with Medicare, with a Medicare fraud. They know the millions of dollars and the billions of dollars that can be scammed this way. They need to write the penalties then and to make them stiff as a mother so that people don't even think about it.
Exactly.
And now, if possible, because I think pardoning is a presidential right. It's a constitutional right, a constitutional right under the president. They need to somehow figure out a way to stop some things from being pardonable, because some things are, for the most part, unforgivable unless even if they can make complete restitution, they cannot undo the harm to the trust, to the social fabric that has been done.
Yeah.
So there should be always a minimal penalty and a stiff as hell maximum.
Well, I really appreciate that you allowing me sort of going into the depth that I did with this. And I'm going to make one little, shameless thing of self-promotion here. This is the book series. There's 3 books in the series, The Base. And this is one of the things that has helped me a little bit. I mean, because we all know the arts don't pay squat, and that's why we work day jobs. But this is one of the things, along with my other books on my website, that enable me to sort of stave off the wolves and pay those bills, but then also keep the electric and the internet going so I can talk about ERISA fraud and talk about helping you guys. So
well,
if you go,
we appreciate it. DanteTherese.com. Link is in the description. Go there and call your library and tell them to order the books. And if you're in Canada, we are still working on the full list of Canadian libraries, because I don't know if you know this about Canada. They have they're mandated if one of their patrons asks for a book, they have to kind of get any books that order them and have it in there. Good thing for Canada. So
well, I do want to thank you guys for being independent sort of journalists and letting people have the type of forum that you have, and operating the forum where people can, talk about issues and stuff. I know it's an act of bravery to sort of stick your neck out. I mean, you probably have like Laura Loomer in your parking lot right now, or the FBI.
They're coming to get me any moment, literally. So yeah,
and they can't distinguish me from any other black guy with dread, so I'm safe.
Yeah,
that would.
Right now, there's some black guy with dreads being beaten up because no, my name is Ack. I swear, my name isn't GD. I'm Ack. We're both comedians. I have long hair.
I'm a Haitian. I was just looking for a dog to eat.
Oh, jeez.
I know. I'm sorry.
Yep.
All right. Thank you for being here, Dante, and good luck with the fight. And if there's anything we could do to kind of, I'm going to cut this up in short and let people know about it. But it feels frustrating. It feels like we're fighting against a world that is way bigger than the people who are fighting against it. So, but
it does. But I know that there's more of us.
I keep hearing
what I'm
that.
saying? Yeah, I mean, but but the thing is that I do have some degree of faith, because I mean, there is more of us, and some people have got to be afraid of ERISA fraud, because like, what happens if you're in the position that I was, where the doctor threw the plastic card at me and he said, you don't have health insurance, you just have a little plastic card. Well, what happens if you need a procedure? Are you going to be able to, in like 2 weeks, get a new provider?
Yeah.
And
I've been there myself with my wife when she was having a surgical procedure, and her medical stuff wasn't approved. I had to kind of give them a check at the desk for it. Was that day? It was in hospital. She was in one day and coming home the same day, but I had to pay cash basically, or else it wasn't going to get done, and it was a very important procedure. It's
that we have, and as I said before, and it really kind of pops my neck out of joint as a person of faith, but I'm not saying that to in any way impose my faith onto your audience or anything, but I'm saying that we're overrun now with politicians who can't quote Bibles and other articles of faith enough. I mean, you would literally think that God is their running mate. So where are the faith leaders? Like, why they need to speak out about what is happening with the medical industry, and they need to speak out about the frauds and the other transgressions as well, because I mean, come on, guys, isn't that your job? I mean, please.
They hijacked the whole Christianity. The phony Christians have hijacked the politicians, and the politicians have just played along and using Christianity or their faith as just a prop. And we've had enough of backlash against that, of calling that out here constantly. So. Anyway, we have to move on. It's been a pleasure to have you here, and you're free to come back anytime you want to kind of refresh this argument or position and see what we can do about it. Thanks. Have a great day.
I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay.
Speaking of that, I don't know if you saw this. I don't know if you get notifications about this. That when there was a short from Fugelsang when he was on, and we were calling out right-wing phony Christians, and some guy said, you guys, meaning you, me, and John Fugelsang, you need to get the Spirit of Christ in you. Like, what? Because to me, I don't think I know anybody who knows more about the actual teachings of Jesus than John Fugelsang. I mean, The guy knows the Bible, and all he could quote. You could just pick out a single 2-word phrase, and he'll tell you where it is in the Bible, right? So but this guy felt that he took it upon himself to say we need to get right with the biblical teachings, and I was like, are you sure you want to go down this path? Because if you want to go break that out on me, sure. I don't know anything about this stuff. I've said many times, I want to be a person of faith. I struggle with that. I would love to be. But John, you're gonna pick on John. That's a losing fight, man. I haven't told him about that. I'm planning on letting him see the comment and fight back on it on his own. Anyway, it's time to move on. Are you ready to move on?
Yeah. So I was paying attention. I was just writing a letter, trying to get some bigger eyes on this issue.
Eyes.
I was writing a sternly worded letter. I was writing a sternly worded letter to my congressperson, trying to get some bit more attention on this, bigger eyes.
I'm dying, man. I am literally feeling like I got like a fever going on here, and not feeling well at all. I'm fading fast. It's time for to meet Jim McDonough, who comes to us by way of this woman Elizabeth, what's her name? She's been on the
Banks,
show.
Elizabeth Banks?
No, the other one. The one that's been. She's always on the show. She's bringing Pasternak. She's bringing, the one. What's her name?
Wait a minute. Elizabeth
Corey Feldman. She's trying to get Corey Feldman on the program
okay, right.
What would I talk to Corey Feldman
Elizabeth
about?
Elizabeth Taylor.
Yes, that's the one. She's
okay.
still alive. And she's supposed to be here, and of course she's not, because she's in a dojo beating some old dude up like me. Like, she's just picking on old people. Anyway, Jim McDonough is a director, writer, actor, editor, currently working on his first feature, Manicorn. You played that entirely while I was having.
I played the entire short,
yeah,
for our audience. So if we get a strike, I'm going to blame Jim, because we did it to promote him, and I'm going to have my attorneys contact his attorneys.
Hold on. Let me take Dante's thing out of here and put Jim's in there. Jim's link to his YouTube and TikTok are there. Ladies and gentlemen, say good morning to Jim McDonough.
Good morning. I'm on the phone with my lawyers.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. We got a 2-strike policy, so we got one more to go. So, yeah, I'll call you after.
Okay. Well, good for you. You got a lawyer on retainer. I mean, you're doing well in the business then.
I wish. Yeah, no, good times. I'm super appreciative to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. The movie Manicorn, it's an interesting idea. Doing a lot of mushrooms or something. Where did that come from? Psychedelics? Where does the idea for that come from?
Are you guys fans or familiar with Robert Rodriguez?
I don't know who that is.
So he made From Dusk Till Dawn, Sin City.
Right, Freddie Rodriguez's father. He worked with Quentin Tarantino on a few films, right?
Exactly. Yeah, he wrote Dusk Till Dawn. Or he directed Dusk Till Dawn. I think Tarantino wrote it. So he has a great book that I would strongly recommend for anyone who wants to get into film, called One Man Crew. And so the idea, and I'm gonna stick the landing and answer your question here, but the idea on One Man Crew is typically, filmmakers. When I say filmmakers, that encompasses actors, directors, producers, writers. Typically, when someone's thinking about their first film, you hear the story of someone, sitting in a coffee shop writing that short film script or that feature-length film script. And typically, they make them super ambitious. So, you know what I mean? Like, we got a helicopter, we're on an island, and it's just, you're basically writing things that'll never happen. So Robert Rodriguez wrote this book about One Man Crew, which is basically about his journey making his first, what he thought was going to be a test feature, to allow him to get funds to make a real one. And he talks about this principle of write around what you got. So, for example, he had a tortoise, and a tortoise is not easy to get a hold of, so that's high production value. He played the guitar, is my understanding. So he had a mariachi, and I may be mispronouncing some of this, guitar case. He said, well, what if I had a hitman who stores his gun in his guitar case? And so the idea of writing around what you have, you're going to stop making stuff. So, so I started basically making stuff just, film used to represent almost something like bittersweet melancholic person, but when I would watch films growing up, until I was 35, it was so passion, so much love, but I was borderline sad that I never gave it a shot. So mid 30s, just me and my buddies were goofing around with the first versions of the digital camera in video mode, and I was shaking it. It looked like an earthquake, if you will. So I made a dumb parody, Earthquake Man. So then, the journey was off, but once it happened, it was literally like a fire I couldn't control, just with passion and excitement. And so I was desperate to continue to make stuff just for the sake of making things. And so I got a hold of that book early on, and the idea of just writing around ideas that you can make was it's something I could control. So, ultimately that's why I got a green screen. If I'm going to write an idea about being in space, I can do that with a green screen. And so I love telling the story about Mannequin because it's almost sorry, you guys ask one question, I'll go in a million directions.
No, it's good stuff here.
Wait till you hear our answers to your answers. Woo, we talk about
and I'd rather listen to you just tell us your experience than have to listen to GD ask you whatever he's going to ask you about.
I'm looking forward to it. So the irony of Mannequin, it's funny. It's a fascinating thing to me in culture where we'll see an artist, and I'm not. Ask me later about what my perspective on what an artist is, because I'll go on a tangent now, but it's something I'm really passionate about. But you'll see artists take a work and they'll almost parody it, or they'll deconstruct it, and they'll make it something else. And then oftentimes that something else, which is kind of like intended almost as like a parody, and it becomes a big thing. I could cite a million examples, but a recent example is a band called MGMT. I don't know, famous song Kids, Time to Pretend. As a joke in college, they made they were trying to make it like a parody of pop music, and they made brilliant art. And so, the idea of just basically starting, pre-constructing an idea and then seeing what you could do with it. I was making ridiculous abstract shorts and sketches nonstop. And so the combination of me walking into they call it a Newbury Comics. It's basically, back in the day, they used to sell comic books and records. And now they sell, plush toys and DVDs, but I'm glad they're in business, but, not a lot of brick and mortars out there. But I see this unicorn mask in Newbury Comics. And all I knew was I'm going to be able to do something with that. And that was the only thing I knew. And so I bought the mask, and using the one-man crew concept of I'm going to write an idea around this one way or another. I'm going to shoehorn an idea around this. And so the funniest thing about Mannequin is people will, listen, I'm not saying I'm not a strange, abstract, goofy dude, but I would make the case that was one of the most pragmatic stories you could tell when you got a mask and what are you going to do with it? And so and I'll walk you through it. So I buy the mask. So it's all right, I'm going to make a movie about a unicorn. So I'm thinking about all these ways of all right, how am I going to do the body? And it's I'm a pain in the ass. And it's a lot of the practicalities at play. So I can make the funniest idea that I can make work one man crew, because it's got to be an idea I can work around. So, all right, I'll find a way to use a plastic body. I'll buy the toy. And I'm like, why don't I just wear the mask? So, well, why do you guys allow swears on here?
Yeah. We have a swear jar, but you can swear as much as you want. Just put a quarter.
Let me know how much I owe. There we go. Perfect. Why the fuck would a human have a unicorn face? That makes no sense. So I then just said, well, what if it was some kind of hallucination or trip, if you will? And then I kind of, and I'm, it's funny. The irony is I was a social worker back in the day, but for 3 years, but ever since then I've been in business and sales. And I think as someone who hates salespeople, and if you guys had dealings with salespeople, I could understand or appreciate why you would agree. I think of myself as like a passionate educator, and I can't sell anything I don't believe in. And so ultimately, I think why I've made so many films about corporations and companies screwing over their consumers is because I have so much pride in doing it the right way, how I do it. I just get so infuriated way our corporations and culture the way they just rip off people all the time. Irony is, I saw an article about how Cash for Gold, these gold plates, everyone is selling gold. Is it some kind of scam? I made a short in 2011 about Cash for Gold, like just an absurd sketch about how. So long story short, I have so it's kind of a combination of interests and passions where I had the mask, and then it was obviously a pharmaceutical ad parody, and so I was kind of finding the most pragmatic, the easiest way to get my story across with the tools at hand, and that's how we got there. But yeah, so but I think that's, then again, though, I'll find inspiration. I am not I'll find any inspiration ever, where it's like a story that comes to me that I'm, doing, like one I made about my dad, where it was a story that he told that I audio recorded when he was sick, and turning that into a cartoon, or like another film that I made that was like a documentary. But that's, if I'm going to write the idea, it's going to be typically around ideas around things I can do, and so that's ironically the weird, strange. I would make the case pragmatic way Mannequin came to be.
Now, I just want to mention, I did not read Rodriguez's book. Well, first of all, thank you. Well, there was this quarter right there. Thank you.
I think I swore twice.
Oh, yeah.
Just the quarter.
Oh,
hold on a second. I got to take this sweatshirt off. I'm having fever issues here.
So we got 50 cents so far. Okay,
awesome.
Cool.
Now, Venmo. Let me know your Venmo.
Now, I used to belong to a film group, and one of the things I did was we had two ways of writing. If you like, I wrote a script for a show, and I wrote it as if the sky was the limit. Whatever's possible, I wrote that. And then I wrote a practical version of where one on location. Okay, this is where I'm going to have to shoot this. So this is, and then I rewrote the actual script based on where I could actually shoot it. So instead of having like them walk 30 feet across a room to meet each other, there's only 10 feet of space. Okay, now they're walking 10 feet. Yeah. And instead of a restaurant, what do you know? It's a restroom, so it's that kind of thing. Like
a restroom.
Yes, a restroom instead of a restaurant.
Right.
You go by GD, right?
Yes.
Yeah. GD, would you agree with the idea of this could lead to a whole conversation? I think what is bankrupt about most AI, but I think what people have never created, and I started creating when I was 35. Like literally my first shot was when I was 35. So I'm not judging non-creatives because I became an artist overnight at age 35. But I do believe what non-creatives get wrong is they always think it's about the output. And I know it's corny, but sometimes as 51, when you get older, you realize the corny is the good shit. And the journey is the point. I know that makes me sound like whatever makes me sound, but like when your process of going through there, I guarantee, and this is an arrogant statement, I guarantee that when you were going through both exercises, you just randomly, because that's what the universe, that's what happens when you create, you just randomly came up with new stuff, I bet. Like ideas got presented that you wouldn't have thought of if you didn't kind of mix everything together. Like, for example, right where you guys see me right now, that's when I'm not working on film, it's where I write every single day. If I'm not working on the film, because I just have to do it. If I'm not working on the next film or the current film, I'm writing on the next. And I was writer's block once. I'm just making a point about how, like, when we change our environment, when we mix worlds, there's so much synergy and new stuff that's created. So, since I've been making stuff, everything's right on this desk. And I had writer's block at one point, and I couldn't figure out the next idea. I couldn't do it. And I literally just went to the woods with a notebook. I haven't been able to think of a short idea. This was back when I was making shorts, like 2 months. And I just went to the woods with a little notebook and wrote 5 shorts in 20 minutes. And I do think whether it's an idea we're struggling with our life or with it's like a creative thing where, like, I just think if you didn't go through that exercise, and this is an arrogant thing to say without knowing about the project, I bet you got the most. You can blend when you want to blend, you don't blend, you remove stuff, but that process in itself was probably very enlightening and rewarding, I imagine. Is that fair?
Yeah. And there was one, I wrote an apocalyptic piece, very low budget. Now it never went to film. It never went to tape, but I wrote the script for it. And the premise was that in the future, like there's like almost everything is gone. I mean, there's like no technology. And then everybody's in these little camps. The only places where people can actually survive are homes that had solar power.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Okay, so if you found a house that had solar power, even though the original residents have died off, you know that house has power.
That's cool.
Now, the technology, cell phones are gone because there's no one to operate the towers and stuff. Satellites have probably fallen to the ground, and so there's these couple of camps, and they found one camp found a workable CD player, and the only music in there was a cover band. It wasn't even original. It wasn't even an original Beatles song. Let's say, I'm going to say this for the sake of argument. Let's say it's the cover of Let It Be, a cover band's version of Let It Be. And in another camp, they found another CD player or cassette player with another cover band, a different cover band's version of Let It Be. And so in each group thinks that their band is the one that wrote Let It Be.
Wow, I love it.
And so they meet by chance, and the war starts over who wrote Let It Be.
Oh, this is brilliant.
and that was my
Wow.
apocalyptic film, and they're
I love
fighting
it.
with sticks and bottles and stuff over who was the original, over who wrote it, because it's just the cover bands didn't say like "Let It Be" by Paul McCartney. They just wrote like the Hamsters version of Hamsters, "Let It Be," and the other one's like the Tortoises, "Let It Be," and then they're like, no, the Tortoises wrote it, no, the Hamsters wrote it, and they're fighting it out. That was that
can I
premise
pay a compliment to you what you did with the writing? I'm sure you caught it, but I just want to note it if you didn't catch it. I'm sure you caught it. You probably knew it. But one of the best advice you can get about film writing is show don't tell. And so, you don't want to have exposition. Sometimes exposition's interesting. You make it work.
Right.
The famous scene in Jurassic Park where they had explained DNA with the cartoon. That's a beautiful example of exposition. Show don't tell though. So if the power is based on solar powers or not, we got a visual. Like I don't have one character saying, "Hey, that," you know what I mean? You can literally see the panels.
Right.
So show don't tell. That was like, I mean, sure, it solved two problems. It was, it showed its up, but it worked for the film. I just really love the premise. It's really a fun idea with the idea of the bands competing with, because who owns art too? You know what I mean? The idea of like the artist who makes it and then it goes out and it becomes its own thing, and then when someone else, you know what I mean? And there is really no new art. We're all kind of taking old themes and meshing them together.
Right. And these people are so far removed from the original artists, they've never heard of the Beatles.
Right.
This is the only music they know, or these cover bands. This group only knows the music by the Hamsters.
Well,
and it's just
kind of reminiscent of another film that was kind of, I don't know, it was kind of big a couple of years ago, maybe 5 years ago. The dude was singing "Yesterday," and nobody had ever heard the Beatles before.
That's a great concept.
He was taking
credit for my friends and I were upset that made it to the screen before we got to finish what we were doing.
I think yours is not connected enough. The only you just have to worry about the rights things that you.
I just picked "Let It Be" because I couldn't remember the original song. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to think if I think we're still debating on whether or not to use one of my original songs.
Right.
As if I became famous. That way we didn't worry about anybody else's copyright.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we were leaning, to use one of my original songs. And that we had to worry about anybody going like, well, you can't use that song. Or it's like, oh, screw it. It's mine.
I think it's a great idea. It still works. Yeah, your idea. I think it still works, independent of Danny Boyle's film.
I need to have a conversation with a filmmaker who has been on this program. He has a movie out called String Theory Movie. It's String Theory Movie, and you can find it at stringtheorymovie.com. It's about guitars being placed in the windows of Zoom calls during a pandemic, and he's got this an interesting take on it. But the reason I'm bringing him up is because he wrote to me yesterday and talking about he's thinking in terms of, I got to get this person to see the film. I got to get this person to see the film. Famous people. Can I help? Can you write a letter to whatever this person and get them to see the film? And I started to think about Dwayne Dyer. He used to talk about being on purpose rather than an outcome. And it seems to me like, what is the purpose of making a film? You want as many people to see it. You gotta be proud of your work. Because he's talking about giving up on it in June. Like, I've been pimping this movie, and he's really frustrated with getting any traction on it. I'm like, what is the purpose? Why did you make this thing? You've done some good work here. Be satisfied with it, but stay on purpose, not on outcome. You're thinking of outcome is, I want Howard Stern to see the movie.
Yeah.
What? That's not. And then what? He's going to tell everybody about. Yeah.
You can't control the outcome.
Yeah. You got to be on the purpose of the creative process, enjoy making the movie, and then when it's out there, be proud of it. It's almost like your kids. You can't. You got to love your kids, but you can't dictate who they're going to be when they grow up. Whatever this film does, and whoever it resonates with, people are going to find it. They're going to love it or not. You can't just kind of worry about what needs to be a success. You have to, and that's a hard lesson for people who are new to the creative art.
It is hard. Yeah, it's funny. I went through my own journey with that completely. Where some of this is a little embarrassing to talk about, but when I was first started making stuff, if I'm being completely honest, a good chunk of the joy and excitement was about what it could be. Like, oh my God, could it go viral? This was back when YouTube was pretty young. It was like, oh, you hit stories, this thing goes viral, people become, rich, and luckily for me, that part of it wasn't strong enough to dictate the work, because I would say to myself, oh man, I could write some schlocky shit and I know it'll get a bunch of views. But I just couldn't. That doesn't interest me. So I wasn't making my stuff accordingly, but I was thinking about it a lot. I would post the thing on YouTube, and then I would like constantly share it. I would constantly be promoting it, and then I think ultimately, in my case personally, it was it was years of making stuff, and I think like a lot of us, I don't know your friend and the other filmmaker, and this is very unfair to me. Kind of connect what I went through, what he's going through, but in my case, I think ultimately I was looking for validation. I wanted someone to tell me your stuff's good. And I was desperately trying to find it because I just wanted someone to say, hey, man, you're doing so. And so in 2015, so I'm making, stuff for YouTube, 2015, from 2008 to 2015, just put it out YouTube, bother everyone I know to watch it, promote it. And I'd false advertise in forums. Like, for example, I made a show called Size Matters about getting upsold at the movie theaters. And I think it's very surreal and weird and crazy. But I advertised it in Craigslist forums under rants and raves for like, does size really matter? And like people were pissed when they got there because they were expecting another video. So a lot of my stuff, the irony though, what that did to me, that weird kind of way of promoting it, it made my skin super thick because 99% of the comments were nasty. And I kind of knew going in, I'm false advertising, so I'm going to get. And so then years of making stuff where everyone was going virtual tomatoes, my skin got really thick. And so that eventually when I had, Manicorn, the short went, for me at the time, like, somewhat viral, I guess you could say, it has like 35,000 views. But so I got that little rush there. And like everything you think you want, it's like oftentimes it's fleeting. And then I submitted Manicorn to a festival that's coming up in a couple of weeks, Boston Underground Film Festival. It's at Harvard Square in Cambridge. And I'm going to brag here, but my cup got filled completely. It played with an amazing feature-length film. It won Best New England Film. I got an award there back there. And I just got so much. My cup was filled so much, and literally, like, it's kind of embarrassing, but like other filmmakers say, "You did good, kid," kind of stuff. It was all I needed to know. And then once that happened, I put them on YouTube and I promote them. But I'm weirdly, I swear to God, I feel weird. I'm more promoting these things normally out of support for the festival to get people to go. I don't get so long story short, like I truly just learned. Now, in fairness, I do love and appreciate seeing an audience, and I do get a kick out of that, and it is motivating. But it's so beyond the thought of why I'm doing it. And so, for example, this feature film, it's loosely based on manhood, and you can't make a feature-length film on a commercial parody. So I basically take the idea of a man turning into a unicorn, and same idea as One Man Crew. I need to make. So it would take me a year to make a short film, a whole year to make, typically a 5-minute film, these last several I've made, because there's so much. The one you saw there, Manicorn's from 2013. Some of my other stuff more recent, it's like all stop animation, literally a year to make it. So if I sit based on that math, 5 minutes take a year, I'm thinking, well, it's going to take me, I don't know, just 35 years or so to make this feature, which wasn't very doable. So I said to myself, same idea, I got to be as pragmatic as possible. How can I take, because I work 60 hours a week and I'm, I got 2 teenage kids in a lovely way. So I'm constantly working. So how am I going to find a way to make this film in less than 35 years? And so same kind of idea, pragmatic logic. It's like, all right, well, I use green screen, and I've been doing green screen now for 12, 13, maybe longer, 15 years, who the fuck knows, and 75 cents. So I knew that when I'm green screening, white backgrounds are really hard, because what green screen is basically, they use it in the weather, they use it in movies like Star Wars and the Avengers. The reason they use green, for some of your audience that don't know, we don't have any green in our skin tone, so by using a neutral color like green, you can just easily remove it and then easily put something in place. But the lighter you're trying, if you have shadows, but you don't have a green screen that's 360 like I don't, and I have it like, if you get a shadow, it's really hard to like remove. And so the lighter the background, the harder it is. And so I said to myself, well, what if I set it in a not dark environment, but a lot of shadows, a darker? That would make my green time much more skilled. And then the irony is, so I said noir. And why I said the irony is, I also thought of the Batman the comic. And apparently both Batman the comic and noir ultimately chose those artistic decisions for the same practicality. In the case of comic books, it was easy to just do dark than colors, so that was more pragmatic. In the case of film, they used noir as basically a cheaper way, but then now it became an artistic choice. So, I set the feature-length film based on, it's set in the future. And part of the reason why it's set in the future, it's really absurd and ridiculous. But anything you say is ridiculous or absurd. I go, hey, we don't know what's in the future, and it's a ridiculous comedy. So I feel like hopefully it all plays together. But it's like a noir, comedy, if you will, with a guy, a private investigator who kind of uncovers this kind of corporate, villain, super. You can see the trailer. It's really wild and crazy. I could give you the plot, but it's nuts. I mean, I could. Yes, I just could go in a million different directions. But yeah. So, but sorry. Long story long. With that technique of trying to scale my time differently, my goal was 3 to 5 years, and I'm a huge believer in goal setting. And so, what do you know? I probably should have said like 1 to 3 years, because here I am. 5 years will be April 1st, and I got 2 pages left to go. And that means writing it from scratch with my co-writer, a guy named Michael J. Epstein, who's a mentor of mine, amazing filmmaker and artist who's I met here in Boston, but he's lives out in Hollywood with his wife Sophia now. So we wrote that for three months, and then I worked on pre-production, building all these designs, these miniature sets of like a gothic, futuristic world, apocalyptic in a lot of ways, and then started working on it. But every scene I make it's all basically every scene is like a cartoon. Like Mannequin, I was loosely using green screen. Now the whole world is like flying. It's all flying cars, but it's like miniatures and like a miniature little cars I turned into. So it's a combination of using all like the new technology available with old school techniques, like with miniatures and whatnot. And long story, even longer, the whole. I could get emotional talking about. If this movie doesn't get seen by 2 people, and I say 2 because there'll be at least me and some of the people involved, I want. If it makes $0, I want. I'm 35. I never made a thing since I was a kid, since I was drawing as a kid. And I started making shorts with the dream. Well, you'll never make a feature. So I am going to finish a feature-length film with all the stuff I got going on. And I know I'm already super proud of it. It's going to be a blast for anyone who watches it if you're into the kind of thing. And so, it took a forever amount of time, but the process has been the reward. It's been the time of my life. It's been the best 5 years of my life. And if I was, the possibility is it's considered a shit show. It's horrible. It's this, it's that, but it's like, all right, well, sure. You can't take what happened and what it brought me. And on the relationships, there's a guy named George Luke who I met through the Boston Underground Film Festival, who is just this brilliant artist that never acted. I just randomly, he wanted to try using my green screen with his friend to act into this project and I was just kind of casually help him and just realized this guy's a brilliant actor. And so partially I already love the guy, but like having him be like the super villain and having him at my house to work on this for like 6 days or so, we become really close in like, how do I put a price tag on that? Like this guy I already knew was amazing. And now he's close to me. There was a gentleman with Down syndrome I met at a restaurant. He's one of the most inspirational people I've met. So he's this actor. He's in this movie called Girlfriend that's won award at the Tribeca Film Festival, and he was working behind the bar and basically doing a thing for charity. And he was this amazing, charismatic guy, and we connected because we both, I just love the guy. But then I also found out he's an actor, and he's really good. And so this was about a year and a half ago. We just meet. I'm like, I got to find a part for this guy. And so, we become really close. He's a pal of mine. And so, let's say everybody hates Mannequin. Well, okay, cool. Like, what? This is so. Like, long story, super long. I'm gonna say it again. The process is through it. I don't care if that makes me sound corny. It's true. And and so, I just say to your friend, I guarantee they got a lot out of that. And it's no slight on him. And we're in a weird world where movies will come out that no one sees, and then 10 years they're acclaimed as classics. That's just how things are. You can't attach your happiness to the outcome.
We have a question from Down Under, which I know a technical answer, but I don't really know how to answer his question.
Yeah, I love this.
James Cameron and Peter Jackson used heaps of CGI down here. How is AI any different? Let me hear your answer because I have thoughts on it, but I'm
I have a passion perspective, and honestly, I just have a feeling this is going to come up a lot in the Q&As when I'm making my thing. Unfortunately, my perspective is nuanced, and if you're open-minded folks, you get nuance, but for a lot of folks, just nuance is too complicated. So my nuanced answer to that is, I really do think it's complicated. Every tool in the history of art has been criticized at the time. I do think AI is different, but I also think there's an element of a tool. So maybe folks that are completely anti-AI could have a huge problem with where I go with it. And I'm not speaking to like any of the environmental concerns of water and whatnot, but I have a weird way of looking at it. I feel like the point of creativity is something I'm really passionate about. The point of art is something I'm really passionate about. I'm finding most of the stuff I'm seeing, one of the biggest is the motivation. Like people who are getting into this are looking for the outcome, and they're not like, it's all shit, not because, but once in a while, it doesn't have to be shit. You could make something, but there's a lot of concerns I have with the whole thing. It's very depressing to me in a lot of ways, but where my complicated, nuanced perspective, when I say depressing, like the idea of how, what it could mean for our kids' future, our future, jobs, just people getting excited, the fact that like there's no film, and everyone's making their own movie. Well, I guess in theory that could be good if everyone's an artist, but it's depressing for a lot of reasons. But like my complicated perspective on it is, if I'm using it as a tool to clean up something I did versus creating the thing, is my nuanced perspective on why I think, and if someone says we're going to get rid of it, you shouldn't use it for that, I get it. But like, for example, like I clean up my audio with it. If I get dialogue, and I use AI, I use Adobe Premiere for all my programs, After Effects, and in the timeline for Premiere, Photoshop, all that. And they have a tool that you basically, let's say on script, it's actually called podcasting, but I use it for my film dialogue, where it just cleans up noise. It cleans up background. It's my voice. It's not changing my voice. One that maybe a little bit more complicated. I mentioned I created a lot of sets for this future. I basically used a lot of the stuff from Blade Runner, what I heard, and then behind the scenes, and then folks use new techniques to make sets for like Blade Runner. So kind of like the idea of this futuristic city that's very raining all the time. So I would build these actual sets with like cardboard boxes. I'd spray paint them like these great materials. I think they came out really good. It's fun and quirky. Like if you look closely, you'll see, wait a second, that's like a little razor. That's not whatever. I take those images, and in many cases, I'll say, all right, well, what would a expanded version of that look like? So yes, I am using AI, and you could make the case I am taking, one of the complicated perspectives on AI is they're stealing all the art that they've made and using that as the algorithm to make the new thing. So I'm sure it's not just my thing that's going into that to help create it. So, it's complicated, but like, I guess my perspective, if it's creating the music itself, if it's creating the video itself, if it's creating the character itself, I don't feel good about it. I don't know where I'm going to feel long term. The question's so good though, because when we say AI, it can mean a lot of things. Like in CGI is not AI, but they're both tools. There's a lot more art that goes into CGI, like there's an artistic hand. The irony is a lot of these programs like CGI because we use AI as a real broad term to talk about a lot of stuff. And so a lot of technology is using principles that they are with using these principles before in things like CGI. So I guess I think a lot of the problem with AI has to do with our existential fear that this could take all our jobs, and no one's talking anything about what they're going to do about income. And you'd think they'd be worried about the folks that are pushing the AI, because what do you know if no one has jobs, no one can buy their stuff. It feels like a real cause and effect thing. If we were hearing nonstop from the same people promoting AI, hey, here's the UBI that's coming for all the jobs that are missing. Here's the push. We're not hearing any of that. So understandably, it's just frightening. And the scary guy is probably been said a million times better than me. But, when we dream of, it's like the saddest truth ever. You bring in the technology and it's going to give me more time from the beep, and then the beeper, it's like, no, we're more tied to the beeper. Then the cell phone, no, we're more tied to the cell phone. And so now AI, in theory, could be coming to help us with work itself. What is it going to come for? It's taking the things that we would do if we all won the lottery and would want to do for free. It's coming after art.
Yeah, no, I have AI compiling a list of Canadian libraries, which I think is a proper use.
I use ChatGPT for work. So, yeah.
That's a proper use for AI, because that's a lot of work, and it's just grunt work, and that's what I want AI to do. But I'm just curious, from the consumer perspective, do you look at something and think if you're enjoying it, do you care how it was made? Do you care what went into making it? If the end result is, I really like that.
Sorry, did you point?
Well, the other part of it is some people look at it in advance and say, if this is AI, I don't like it, without saying, did I enjoy that first? They look at what was the technology first, and then they let that prejudice what their experience of it, rather than sitting back and saying,
part of this could be sorry, go on. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, well, I was just going to, my thing about the difference between CGI and AI is very simple for me. I think that if AI is depriving the artist the ability to learn to problem solve, then it's criminal. Because I think one of the things that's wrong with our society is that people do not know how to problem solve on their own, and they're looking for other people to solve their problems. So if you and I are creating a film, and we say, okay, we need this to be A, B, C, and D, but this is what we have to work with. And then and instead of figuring out how to do it, we go like, fuck it, AI. We never learned to solve that problem. So and a lot of things that are invented were invented because someone had a problem that needed to be solved. If you now take away the fact that we have problems that need to be solved, people stop creating solutions and they look for a pre-made solution, which does not take us anywhere. It does not give us any advancements because those solutions are there, and we no longer seek our own solutions.
1000%, GD. Whether it's art, whether it's scientific discovery, things are made from the problems themselves. This is a dark theme as an animal, but titanium that we use in dental implants, we use in our hips, was discovered because they accidentally, and I don't want to get into the how, but like it wouldn't come out of the bone of the animal they were using. I'm not saying, and this is not a statement of why we want to use animals to test things, but more just what problems create solutions, creative solutions. And to your point, when you're asking when you're talking about the script that you were doing, two versions, like what came out of that process of the problems? It's funny. Ironically, literally, I was hoping I have an excuse to shoehorn into the conversation. We know it's going to come up organically. One of the mantras of my feature is the Bruce rule. And when I call it the Bruce rule, I'm coming up with the name of the rule. I didn't come up with the concept or the idea originally. You guys ever hear the backstory of Jaws and how hard it was to make the film? You guys
I've seen like dozens of documentaries on it.
You know the story. So remember the name of the shark that kept breaking down was Bruce, right? Yeah. And so why did I'm sure you know the story. The reason why Jaws they didn't show the shark much because they got the fucking thing to work. And so what do you know? It's, as Tarantino calls it, I think it's controversial lately with some of his takes about actors, but I love his films. But he calls it a perfect film. It's like every generation loves that movie, and it's 1,000. I mean, I don't want to ever second guess Steven Spielberg, but it's 1,000 times better with all the suspense and without seeing it. And so they took a problem that maybe AI says, "Here's your shark. Here's your fancy shark," and it's showing the shark. Come on, stop, showing the shark, and like there's no suspense. And so, they didn't come to the problem. Like, we got our shark, and he looks amazing, and he's also dancing in the air. The problem itself comes up with the solution. So when I say the Bruce principle, and I'm making a ridiculous, absurd comedy, part of the joke is hopefully it's like almost like a I don't want to say a parody of really cheap, bad filmmaking, but it's like some of the effects are kind of silly and intentionally, ridiculous. Every time I have a thing I can't do in this movie, I say, what's the Bruce principle? And so what does that mean? It's like, okay, so there's almost always an idea that is a problem, but it's coming a better solution by the process of figuring out and discovering it. And I swear to God, I could name 1,000 examples of decisions I made during the film because of the problem that presented. If all this stuff was done through AI, none of those solutions come into play. And so back into the idea, like AI is about the output. I think art is about the creativity and the process. And art is about, it's about sharing the human experience. And weirdly, the more specific it gets, the more personal it gets, the more universal it is. And it's us trying to share our version of this weird ride we're on. And that's what it's about. It's not about like a fancy output. Do you mind, and I've been yapping like a maniac, but do you mind if I just give, and hopefully the shortest version possible, what I believe an artist is or not, because I'm passionate about this. And I can label.
Oh, we're all out of time, but thanks for joining us, Jim. No, take it. Go ahead.
I appreciate it. Thank you, G. So there's two schools of thought on what art is and what an artist is. One school of thought is about the output. It's about how good the output is. And I didn't realize the connection on here, but so this guy's an artist or that gal's an artist because they produced this amazing piece of work. And then you have the other school of thought, the banana on the wall in the museum is art. Like, what the hell are you talking about? That's ridiculous. It's like, it is art. It is art. Here's my case on why it's art. Art is about the process. Art is about the intent. Art is a subjective experience. Art is so that is factual. But then from a love perspective, from a change in the world perspective, as corny as this sounds, holy shit is that dog, right? Dog. Holy shit is that, actually second time, dog. That attitude of, it's so privileged, it's so, only we can be the artists. Your thing is an art. And what if instead of saying, you are, the moment you decide to be an artist, you're an artist. That's why I say I became an artist overnight in 35 when I started making stuff. When you intend to make something personal about sharing your experience of the world, that is what art is. And like, if we start thinking about what art is and what the point of art, it's about, sharing this human experience, about the process. I think we maybe have AI, but like, for example, like what if we have AI that's making perfect films, but let's say AI could make a perfect photograph of me right now. Okay, I show that to you. All right, now I'm going to show you a guy who took an Excel, Microsoft spreadsheet and formed art with dots. Have you ever seen this? People make art with Excel. What if I showed you a guy who makes art on the top of a pen? Which one are you going to be more impressed by? Like which one? Like, I always use the example of sports. Like, you think we're going to really be that excited watching AI robots play each other in sports? It's like, I'm going to cry from watching someone do something special because I didn't think that human could do that. I didn't think that person could overcome that in their story. And that is what moves us to watch things like sports and theater and film. And yes, so I think to your point, Matt, I think, yes, someone like me will see, once I find out AI, I'm out. I think part of that's generational, part of that's time. That could change. But I think even at the end point, when people get over that and they're like, oh, it's just going to be based on how, like, I don't want to say good, how moving it is, how connecting it is. I think at that point, I like my chances for the dude with the Microsoft Excel. I like my chances with the person who's on stage with their buddies. Or I actually think we're going to, as things get more and more polished AI, we've already been seeing this huge drive towards authenticity. People are more starving for authenticity than ever in themselves and who they look up to. I'm 51. In the 80s and 90s, all your politicians, all your actors, all of your newscasters had that cadence and all the radio, that radio voice. You guys know the radio voice.
Yes.
Those folks, they're dead. It's over. You're not getting anywhere with that. So people really connect to authenticity. And so, I don't know, man. AI, is it authentic? So I think it'll have its place, but it's a lot could change it too. Who the hell knows how it all plays out?
Well, I sort of agree and disagree all in the same time. My thought on this, first of all, if I have to define what art is, I love the creative process. For me, creating art, I love the process. I don't necessarily love the finished product. I know there are people who like getting to the end and finishing my vision and all that kind of stuff. Where Billy Joel, I talked about him, he doesn't enjoy songwriting. He enjoys finishing a song and knowing he's done a good piece of work. I think that's very individual. But for me, art at its bottom core level is about communication. And I brought this up when Geese did that Saturday Night Live thing, and I didn't understand what the song was about. And to me, it's like the whole reason for creating something, you want to communicate an idea to the consumer, whether it's visual or whether it's auditory, whatever it is, you want to communicate an idea to them. And if I have to ask you to explain it, it's like a comedian who tells a joke. If I got to ask you to explain the joke, don't even bother coming to my show. Or it's like,
those are the best jokes, Matt.
Huh?
The best jokes are the ones you have to explain later, those because they live on. Instead of the joke being like 30 seconds, now the joke is 5 minutes. If the entire
audience said, "We don't get it," explain it to us.
Right now, you got 5-minute chunk instead of you had first you had like a 30-second setup and punchline. Now you got a 5-minute chunk, and comedians love chunks.
I would love to hear some more feedback on that. People who've actually.
Apparently, you didn't see any of my specials.
That's funny.
But the bottom line is communication to me. And the reason you create is to say something. You want to say something, it needs to be heard.
I agree with that.
If I come back to caveman times where art started and with the cave drawings and stuff like that, they had very primitive tools, but it managed to move people. As tools evolved, like when we got to the Renaissance era, nobody said, hey, cavemen didn't have brushes. They actually had to use stones to do that. And so what you're doing is not art because you're doing it with brushes. That's not fair.
They painted with real fruit. They actually had to use a blueberry to make that
or
blue.
blood. You had to get an actual elk blood or dinosaur blood to paint on the walls. And now you look at you're using berry juice. That's not fair. So all this, technology evolves, the human race will evolve until it doesn't anymore. And if I get something out of the art, if I enjoy it, I don't care how you fucking made it. I really don't care.
There's been things that I've enjoyed. I think in some cases, if it's done like in pieces, if it's a surreal element. So yeah, I get you. I completely hear you, Matt. I think a lot of it does come down to the existential feel a lot of us have.
Let me just add one final thought on it. I agree with most people who would say I haven't seen anything from AI that really has moved me yet. I haven't experienced anything true that moment where you see a great film or you hear a great album and you're like, holy fuck, that was amazing. I haven't had that experience with anything that was wholly made with AI. I've had that experience with some things that incorporated elements of AI here and there, but it's really hard to just say make something out of whole cloth that doesn't exist in the world and make real characters out of that emote to me and make me connect with them as characters in a film. It hasn't happened yet. I don't doubt that it will happen, but at this point, so
as someone who doesn't like AI, ultimately, if I had to pick an opinion, if I could make it go away, I would. I actually think the reason you haven't seen it is not is for you will. I think why you haven't is because 99%. For example, I'm on TikTok more than I should, and there's this genre of AI videos, and I go to the profile who makes it, and there's like thousands of them, where it's the most boring video of all time, where it's a delivery room, and the older sibling comes and says, "Oh, I don't want a brother." Thousands of videos. This person's made thousands of these videos. It's not funny, and so I think the reason why you haven't been moved, none of the artists have been using it. It's a tiny percentage. So all it would take, in my opinion, for it to actually make good art is you take an artist who starts, because the people that get into it, they think, I'm going to make money. Their motives are wrong. And if a really good artist starts using it, I think you'll find interest. You're going to see more and more interesting stuff. And I think over time that will happen. I just think there's so much hesitancy and scare. You're not seeing a lot of the artists using it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And there was one piece of AI that really impressed me. And this is going to sound kind of stupid, especially the thing that impressed me. I had to call my dealership to schedule an appointment for my car, and when I called, the voice, they got my phone number already because I'm on file there, and she says, "Hi, GD, this is Rebecca. How can we help you?" And I said, I thought it was talking to a person, and I said, "Yeah, I'm going to bring in my car for an appointment." And she was, "Great, why would you like to bring that in?" And I still did not know I was talking to a person. And the reason why I did not know is because I heard the breathing. Yeah. I actually heard her take a breath. Okay. Wow. And that was the human contact, because most AI, you don't hear them breathe. It's just like like they had one breath and they did the whole sentence without breathing. With her, I heard the breath between sentences. And it took me like 45 seconds to realize this was AI.
Wow.
And once I realized it, I was like so giggly and so impressed, because when I watch television, my wife and I watch these shows, and they all talk with this. You have like a man and a woman and different races, but they all talk with the, I really think that the patient we have here, or I really think that body there has been decomposing for too long.
Yeah, they never say
not to
all talking with the same tone.
Not to take away from your experience there, but was there any impulse, like when you realized that this is a AI bot, like let's fuck with it a little bit? Let me.
No, I was just impressed that somebody thought that I would feel better, because I hate talking to AI. When I hear any AI voice, I'd start pressing 0, trying to get a real person.
I would just say,
because
You know I'm jerking off right now, don't you? And just like,
well, I'm not that. I don't have that kink. So, because if I call a company, I get AI. As soon as I notice AI, I'm angry and I'm like pushing a button. But because I heard the breath, like heard this thing like fake take like, you hear the breathe between sentences. I'm like, it felt like I was talking to a person.
All right, send me the number. I want to fuck with her.
No, because that's my dealership. You get your own.
We'll write it up.
Don't mess with her.
Do me a favor. Just write the number on the bathroom stall. I'll find it later.
But that was the one thing that got me. The fact that somebody thought, and I believe me, I've talked to lots of companies and AI. I've had a lot of AI voices. This is the only one that I've ever heard take a breath. It's almost like they recorded a real person saying these things, except for my name. How would they know that I'm going to call? Right. So they go through the whole list of all their customers, like, okay, you only got 500 more names to read. All right.
Yeah,
hello, Jim. Hello, Jim. How can we help you today?
So
take two. Hey, Matt, how can I help you today?
Got to hear the breath. Because filmmaking is probably the most expensive endeavor a creative person can get into. I mean, musicians could spend a lot on gear, but filmmaking, to get a film made, you got actors to pay, you got lighting directors, you got sound people. It's so expensive. Is indie go-go and things like that still the best way to kind of, for independent filmmakers? How do you get in film the money for films? Because corporations, they just want to make Spider-Man again.
Having a big swear jar helps.
That helps. Yeah, that's GD's GoFundMe. Yes. So I think my individual journey has been different than most. I think you see the movie The Social Network, for example.
Basically, like, how are you getting the money from?
Yeah.
To put.
No, I'm going to connect the point. Sorry. The reason I asked if you ever saw the movie The Social Network is there's a line in the movie, and I'm going to connect this to crowdfunding. There's a line in the movie where the guy, Eisenberg's playing Zuckerberg, and the character says to him, like, "Why don't we put ads on Facebook for the early days?" It's like, well, we put ads on, we get money. And he's like, well, $1 million isn't cool. $1 billion is cool. So they knew to protect the brand by not advertising. So the reason why I haven't done any GoFundMe into any of that is this film probably we're talking like several hundreds of dollars. We're talking like, because I'm making everything from scratch, and so I'm not trying to make $1 million. I'm not trying. They say I'm trying to make $1 billion. I'm not trying to make $1 billion. I'm not trying to make $100. I'm trying to make $1,000. Right. I'm messing here with it, but so my oh boy, I just spilled a bunch. My journey here is because of how the type of films I make. I'm not. It's really like shoestring budgets. Like, I'm literally making these things from scratch, and the actors are coming. If the film makes money, I'll have. They're basically doing it. Out of like respect and my friendship, and hopefully some of them are fans of my thing. But so I haven't never had to raise money, but I also haven't produced anything that's cost more than
No, I get it.
But that world, they're still doing it. It's probably the way to do it if you want to raise money.
Well, the AI stuff played into that in a lot of ways, because people, and you talked about creative problem solving and all that kind of stuff, but I felt like there became a point, because I did know some filmmakers who were working on shoestring budgets, working with no budget sometimes, and it was like a magic trick. Every time something happened that was cool, that they came up with a creative solution that the audience is just supposed to take in as the experience, they had to explain, oh, you can't believe how we made that, like, because now that creative way you made that effect happen, or that thing happen, was unexpected, and let's just focus on that, and it takes away from the experience. And AI solves a little bit of that. Where are we going to get the money to do this kind of thing?
It solves it, but to GD's point, you don't get the creative solutions you would have got if you had to troubleshoot it the same way.
I totally agree with that. But I ran into, like, from the 90s to probably mid-10s where people were filmmakers I know who every time that creative solution happened during the movie, they'd have to stop and explain about how creative that was. Oh, you can't believe what we went through to get that to happen. And like, I'm trying to enjoy the film here, dude. Like you're showing me your movie for the first time. Don't stop it and tell me about how you used two garbage cans together to make that.
No one cares on the why. They just want to see, they want to be entertained, whether that's the fans themselves or even like at heart your friends. Because I found with family and friends, the first few things they'll make, they're going to be they'll fake it. Yeah. Eventually they're going to have to be entertained, and they'll still support you, but they're not going to watch. The people will only be nice to a certain point, and then you're going to have to entertain them or not.
And the sad thing, and this is from somebody who's never had to deal with this in practical terms. Like I've never had to subject a script to a director or something like that. But even when when I submit a script to somebody and say, "Can you help me make this?" They don't want to know. They just want the finished product. They want is minimum. They don't want to know, and they're in the business. They're in the business of making a movie, but they don't want to know how you plan to make this movie. They just want to know what your script is, what your final project is. They don't care about what you're going through, and they're part of the process. It's real. To me, this is kind of mind-boggling. I mean, when I recorded a CD, I wanted to know everything that was going. I was interested in every single thing. When the engineer was doing something, I said, "Well, how are you doing this?" And because we had issues, and then we learned how to solve problems. We had a 25-track song, but we only had a 24-track recorder, and we didn't want to bump anything. We wanted to keep everything individual. So I found a solution for that. That I got the entire track. It's in different. It's in all the blank spaces on the 24 tracks. That's where I put the 25th track. It's like in all of the blank spaces, and I got the 25th track there, and I can still adjust the volume on that track separately from the other 24 because it's in the dead spaces.
Awesome. Yeah.
When GD played your the short for Manicorn before, and I stopped him as the credits were coming up. In the credits, when I watched it the other day, I noticed that you're pretty much it. I mean, there's a narrator in there, and there's that's it, right? It's just you playing all the parts.
Well, no, there's a kid named Ryan. There was a kid, Ryan.
Rhode Island. He's an actor I met through YouTube. And then the scientist is Adam. I met them through our kind of shared love of sketch group, Tim and Eric, and then we've been involved in other things. So I do more than I should. A lot of it's to do with I'm the most reliable person I know.
I get that for a short, but now the question is, you're going to make it into a full-length feature.
So to your point, I try to get a lot more actors involved because people are going to be sick of seeing my mug the whole film. So I probably have like 25 different actors in it who came to the house. And then, I had a guy I mentioned exposition earlier, talking about Jurassic Park with the DNA scene. There's a moment in the movie where I have to explain something called toxoplasmosis, which is a parasite. And look at that one on your side. I could go on that tangent, but basically it's a parasite in rats that takes over the fear center of the brain, makes them not afraid of cats. It's wild. It's real. And so it's this company, the whole thing, but in the movie, the company is selling a thing for, they're basically using toxoplasmosis on their patients. But I got to explain what toxoplasmosis is. A very strange parasite. Honestly, for fun, look it up when we're done if you guys don't know about it. But it's a very strange parasite that changes human behavior, changes cat behavior. Now I got to explain this very complicated thing. And so I kind of used the idea of Jurassic Park, where they wanted to explain to their audience what DNA is. So I had like an animator friend of mine who's helped write things with me in the past, and also a musician. I did one of his hip hop videos. He did the animation for this scene where I explained toxoplasmosis. So I use an animator for that. I'll have someone probably score it. I'm editing it. I'm playing one roll on camera, and then ever since I grew a beard, it kind of leaves my options of how many different characters I can play. But then I'm probably playing like 15, 20 like people in masks and aliens and all kinds of other stuff. But there's a lot of actors, and basically everything else is pretty much me. I mean, I'm gonna insult someone really bad that I forgot. Of course, I had the co-writer help with Michael J. Epstein. I'm gonna forget like 5 names of the people that were helpful, but most of the things, yeah. That's why I'm honestly able to do it for basically no money, because the most expensive thing that you're paying for is skill. Not saying I have skill, but I'm not paying for for that labor.
Yeah, or the catering.
Yeah, paying for it. Just
when 10 characters can eat 1 sandwich, you got a good deal.
Right? Exactly. You got a great point. And honestly, I think, again, using the Bruce principle, using the one-man crew principle, because I have had no money and I'm making comedy, all right, let's make the comedy around the fact in some ways I don't have any money, and like you can kind of see it. And so it's all lending into these ideas of how can I make the thing? I got to make shit. And so, I don't have a budget. I won't have a budget. Now, if you give me $10 million, $1 million, $100,000, I will stretch that out and do all kinds of fun things, but I don't need it. I could make, I could make a feature for $100. How good, I don't like it or not, I don't know. But I could do it, especially when I'm creating, like, for example, you guys, if you mentioned the movie, you saw the short where the unicorn manicorn is flying in space. If I can have a unicorn man fly in space, that would obviously be very expensive if you did, naturally. There's really not much if I can't dream, I could find a way to do it in a silly, ridiculous way, So I keep the budget light for those reasons too.
Yeah. Let me ask you, because I'm contradicting myself here when I was talking about staying on purpose rather than on output, but eventually the feature will be made.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the question, like, where does it go? Are you going to go to film festivals? Are you going to straight to digital, like YouTube distribution? What is the end goal here for getting people to appreciate the work?
Kind of a quirky answer, because as time changes, so does in the world, but as time goes, it seems to change at an exponentially faster rate. And so the irony to this answer is, it'll be 5 years ago when we set out to write this whole thing and do the whole thing. I'd probably give you a different answer each year. 5 years ago would have been said, like, maybe you'll get on a place like Netflix, like big ambitious dreams. And then when I started on YouTube, and I have a lot of friends that sold films and work with distributors, and this distributor is great, this platform is great, and full freaking circle. I have a lot of friends that's like, okay, the landing spot for my new feature after they've had tremendous success, and I'm going to rent it on YouTube. So I'm like, full circle here. Is YouTube the amateur land I would have thought it would have been for a feature-length film, 5 years ago? I don't know. What I do know for sure is, and maybe this sounds arrogant, but part of it has to do with the relations I've built over 10 years going to film festivals, and I've had the Boston Underground Film Festival, the one I mentioned is coming up. I had 7 years in a row I had shorts play there, so I developed a lot of relationships, and so places like that, I'm not guaranteeing they'll accept it, but like I got a lot of confidence they'll play at a good amount of film festivals, and maybe that sounds arrogant. Whether it gets buffed or I don't know. But so the first step will be film festivals. The biggest success I ever had on the film festival front was a short I had called Darling Pet Monkey. Was basically a documentary that was paired with Class Action Park. I don't know if you guys saw that one. And Fantasia, which, if you ever heard of Fantasia, Tarantino calls it the best genre festival on the continent. And you'll see movie stars there. It's films get sold there. So my badge of honor, one of the proudest things I've ever done in film, was always a bucket list. I had my short played at Fantasia in 2021, I want to say, or 20. It's blur a little bit, but knowing that is theoretically possible because I've had a film play there. If it got into a place like Fantasia, who the hell knows what its capability, what it could do? But hopefully, if nothing else, if you guys, I'm talking about maybe exciting things to do, but I hope nothing else you guys can take from this. If I can't control any of that, I can what I can control when it's done, because I'm going to worry about the things I can control. I can be as prepared as possible for every situation like this, for example, and that means me, like, the day, 2 days before, day before, and like control every single thing I control. I can be passionate, I can be kind, I can, when people ask for help in other ways, if I can spread that kindness forward. And I'm a big believer, and this sounds hippy dippy, of the karma thing. When I did the karma thing, you could say the Sir Isaac Newton physics thing. Every action causes an equal and opposite reaction. And the more kind I am to people, the more good I put out there, the more it all comes around. So maybe it's like a confidence that I have that it's all going to be good, but also just a confidence I have that if the world's over before it's done, I'm proud of what I did, and it's already something I really loved. But I think I got a good feeling because I just think there's a lot of shorts like Mannequin out there. I do think so. Crazy, fun, silly, absurd. Maybe not for everybody, but some people get a kick out of it. There's a good amount of features out there. I don't think there's that many.
Yeah.
And so if nothing else, I think it's going to be special. I think people are going to have a lot of fun when they see it. So I like my odds, but I can't. I'll do everything in my power to control what I can control. But I'm. Right now I got to, worry about finishing the last 2 pages and getting it scored and tightened up, and one day at a time, as you will.
I'm a very broken person as far as what I create because I have to convince myself that it's worthy, no matter what. I mean, there are some things that I think are better than others, but I haven't been satisfied with one single thing that I've ever created. I'm really this is my masterpiece. I don't feel like I've ever done anything on that level, and that's really frustrating. So that's what I would love to do if I had time to think about.
Good at the end of your grade, as they say. Yeah, it's an artist struggle.
Yeah,
trying to make something amazing and beautiful instead of just trying to make something like we can handcuff us.
Yeah, and to me, it feels frustrating that I come back to what is the reason? Does anybody really ever get that feeling of wow, I created something truly beautiful? Because I never did. I feel like there were elements of stuff that were really good in some of the work I've done, but I've never been completely proud of anything. And I have to convince myself that it's worthy to show people a lot of times.
I've never made this analogy before, and maybe it doesn't fit. I don't golf. I actually, from when I have golf, I hate it. Part of it was because how bad I was. But when you talk to anyone who loves to golf, what they'll tell you, it's almost like it reminds me of this artistic, creative, struggle, creative journey, and the right way of looking at if you were to like golf. You talk to someone who loves golf, even like pros, they'll tell you how it's like, if not the hardest sport, it's like one of the hardest things you can do. And even people who do it all the time, they'll say, it's like, oh yeah, I'm almost never good, but I had that one shot. And that one shot made me want to come back. And so you are explaining, like, I had that one thing, and you're hard on yourself, and like without knowing you, I bet you're sensitive because all artists are sensitive. And I would look at it like a golf 9 to 18 rounds where like, I want to just have something. I'm like, I had a good thing here and I want to come back out. And cause you're never going to have perfect 18 holes, you know what I mean? And just get me out, do enough to get me want to go back out.
Yeah. The irony of my situation is I teach artistic, I teach painting and stuff. And I preach about things that anybody who really knows me is like, what? Because I talk about faith. You got to have faith that it's going to be okay. But faith that it's going to be okay is different than faith that it's going to be what you want. And that message sounds like I'm being defeatist to people when I say this isn't going to be perfect. It's your first painting. You're not going to be totally satisfied with it. I've done 10 million paintings. I've never been, but I have faith that it's going to be okay.
Yeah,
it's going to be okay.
It's such a conversation too about the human experience. You know what I mean? Like, well, oh man, I'm worried about this, but it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not, but like most of the time, it's what I love about art. You said, I missed it when I was explaining it, but you hit it too. It's about communicating. It's about trying to communicate ideas. It's about communicating pain. It's about communicating empathy. Roger Ebert calls film the great empathy machine.
Yeah.
You show us a hero, a heroine within a couple of seconds, and we're already seeing things from their perspective. We already get up. It's fascinating. Like that's what I also love about art. I actually think it's the most effective way to change minds when you get up on stage and tell people what to think, people what to do.
I used to feel that way, and not that I totally disagree with it now, but we had a friend who's a singer-songwriter on, and he's a little bit older than me, and we grew up in an era where people were believing songs could change the world, music could change the world, the right message could change the world, and all of those people who were in marches and all of that, they have now become the establishment and given up on. And the guy who was on, he said those people weren't really in it for bettering the world. They were in it for the party. And I think there's a lot of that. People just
I
writing.
think the more subversive it is, you can make the case that's kind of how propaganda works.
Yeah.
Propaganda. The more subversive it is, I think the more likely it is to set in and people to actually believe these ideas. Because it's honestly like the reason I think one of the struggles artists have is no one wants to hear from them because they will say the message. But if they, I'm not saying they shouldn't say the message, but I think when people get told how they I'm not, this is not a, I think the artists should passionately say what they believe in. This is not a criticism of artists, whether it's LeBron James, or, athlete or an artist. They have every, probably agree with 99% of what they're saying. So, but it is a, so I can tend to go on rambling tangents if I'm not careful. You guys don't reel me in. But yeah, no, I agree.
I'm looking at Darling Pet Monkey. That's an interesting project.
True story.
Yeah. Very cool stuff.
Sad story. True.
We have your YouTube channel and your TikTok channel up for people can follow you.
The TikTok is something completely different that was honestly created because of if I heard myself saying this 10 years ago, I might be very embarrassed or surprised or shocked or whatever. I started making dance videos in my backyard. It's not as weird as much as you see these videos. You think, I have so much fun with it, but like, there's a part of me that's still a tiny bit shameful. But it was originally as a night because I'm so passionate about creating. I used to make these shorts where I go out to festivals every year, or I'd have the experience of the putting it out there and having some kind of reaction. I'm probably sound like a hypocrite because on some level I do like sharing things with audiences. And because I've been wrapped up in this feature forever, I just wanted, it was almost like I had very specific rules. Like, you're not allowed to edit. You're not allowed to put thought into it before. You're not allowed to put thought into after. This is something that you just do randomly. Wherever, like yesterday I was in a Kohl's, and first I could only dance in the backyard, and now I'll dance in public. But funny, this is actually kind of another metaphor for art. But what do you know? I got I don't know. I have one video that had 35,000 views on YouTube, and with my shorts, I had probably 300-400 subscribers, not many. And then meanwhile, the silly TikTok dance page, it's not dance page, it has my mannequin trailer for the feature. Mostly it's 99% dance content. It's kind of hilarious. I had a video in September that got 1.2 million views, and I had 500 all the time. Now I have over 10,000, and it's kind of just growing. And what do you know? I'm taking me a year to make a short, and 1,000 people watch on YouTube. And then I put no thought into it. And the one that got 1.2 million views was a 16-second song that I danced to. And it's such a statement on you can't control any of this stuff. What do you know? I put this out, and I'm almost in the but where the kind of the ultimate kind of Bruce principles, hopefully, if nothing else, is maybe it's not the exact same quote unquote brand. But I'm creating, I got a bigger audience now because of it. And I'm hoping to kind of in some way bring these audiences together as the feature gets closer. I don't know. They might be, my demos and my TikTok is 80% women and age range that's younger than me. And
they've all been blown up by now. So
it's blown up. Stuff is a different crowd. So I don't know if I can cross them together, but I'm hoping maybe my TikTok folks will rent or watch the movie. We'll see.
The weirdest thing now, I have not had, I don't think I've ever had the same video on YouTube have the same success on TikTok and on Instagram. I've never, and Facebook. Yeah. Whatever, if I have something that's successful on one, it is a failure on the other three. Now, when I say success, for me, success is several hundred, because nobody gives a shit about who I am or what I do. But
who are you?
You never know, though. The next one could be the one. You never know.
It could be, but you know
the attitude I had. I wasn't looking for, I wasn't thinking about that. It's just,
I don't care. Yeah. I mean, I only care in the sense that it's a curiosity now.
Yeah,
and exactly. It's a problem for me because I have this thing in my brain where if I see a problem, I need to at least know that there's a solution, and I start working on it. Mm-hmm. So why does something succeed on YouTube? And it's the same, it's not like there's not a crossover. It's not like, okay, I'm on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and the other one, Facebook. I'm on all four. And a lot of people I know are on all four. So why do I not have the same the same viewership for the same content on all platforms. It's amazing to me.
I'm not going to say this is the answer, but it certainly has something to do, plays a role in that. And it's different rules for thumbnails and titling and all that kind of stuff. And those algorithms put out certain, if the thumbnail conforms to the way we want it, if the title conforms to the way we want it, we'll show it to more people. And they have different rules. Their different algorithms have different rules about that. That's not the sole answer, but that plays a role.
Yeah, because it's funny you say that. Gee, when in my case, when I look at I haven't put my dance stuff on YouTube. If I do, I'll probably create another channel for it because it's so different. But when I look at the YouTube stuff not having like the same draw, they're very different. So that would make sense. But to your point, to really emphasize your point, I put when I make the things on TikTok, so I then just post them on Reels and Instagram, and then they go on Facebook. And so the funny part about it is, since I started doing this, I've had some stuff go mini viral on Instagram and Facebook. And when I say mini viral, more than a couple hundred people are watching it. It's getting shared. I feel like it's some level of a couple thousand, 3,000 views. Some of these 1 in 5,000. And in YouTube, some of them are 50, 100, and then the 1.2 million. I've had the one that got 1 million views on TikTok. That one on Instagram has 300 views, and then I have others on Instagram Reels that are like 3,000. So these are the Reels and TikTok are it's the same content, the same but it's a different algorithm to Matt's point. The audience is, I have strangers on both, more Facebook connect, more friends and family connected to Facebook and Instagram. But yeah, I guess it's the thumb. I don't know. Yeah, the algorithm it must speak to. There's no other explanation. Because in my case, I think it's the same type of people. It's still different.
But I understand it now. I understand all that.
Yeah.
But to me, it's still like. Because I'm saying, I was just trying to address the fact you're just talking about maybe getting, that crossover, and I was just saying, and you're talking about two different audiences, and me, and I'm talking about like I got the same content on 4 platforms, and I can't even get the same result.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
All right, it's time to wrap this up, Jim. Thank you for being part of the program.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome back anytime, and when you put your full-length feature out, please do come back and
I would love to. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys' time. I had a lot of fun.
All right, we're over time. We have a great day, and thanks for being part of the program. I don't know, Elizabeth was supposed to join us. Something happened.
No, she wasn't. No, she wasn't.
She said she was, right? She asked for the link. She asked for the link at 10:15 or something, but she didn't. Yeah, we did fine without her.
Yeah, we did fine because Jim got to talk more.
Oh, and give me a chance to talk, and I won't shut up, as you guys already know. We're all friends now.
All right, cool. Well, do come back sometime. We appreciate it.
I appreciate it. I would love to. Thanks so much, guys. Thanks for the opportunity, and thanks for the time.
Bye for now. Jim McDonough, I've got to say goodbye really quick because I'm fading. I got to go pass out. I don't know if you know this about me.
Well, before you pass out, you should maybe get a chance to walk around nappy.
All right. Be walking, falling around, down, even fall.
to me, listen to me, listen to me now. Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me now. Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me now. Listen to me, listen to me, listen